Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. Joining me, as always, is my favorite person in the world, my co-host, my longest time friend. It's Tyler. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
You're gonna do this every week, every single week.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Good to be here. I am so excited for our guest tonight and this topic.
absolutely. It's a great topic, and there was really only one man I could come to for it. It's the most dangerous man in wargaming. It's the magical Mr. Mephisto. How you doing, buddy?
I'm awesome, man. I'm actually pretty great. So happy to be here. Happy for the topic. And the second most qualified, but Haywo was sick, so you had to catch me.
He would have been another one that would have been good. I mean, admittedly, when I was thinking about this show, like real talk,
Mhm.
there was like the Venn diagram of overlap of people who could like intelligently talk about this topic is pretty small. It
Yeah.
wasn't huge, and that's not a slap against anybody in the community. It's just like I think this is the kind of thing that like you and I and Haywo and a couple other people have really thought about a lot, and most
Mhm.
other people have never thought about at all. No fault of their own. They just have lives.
Well, I
Mm.
mean that's one thing I was thinking about like today, just trying to come up, prep myself
Sure.
cerebrally. I'm like, what's the use of us knowing all of this?
Right. Yeah.
Like,
It's highly dubious information. But today we're going to be talking about the psychographic profile of Warhammer armies, and we're going to be tiering the armies. That's right. It's a tier show, everybody. It's a tier show. But instead of the normal A B C D F Z S Q pi theta list, instead we're going to talk about Timmy, Johnny, and Spike. And if you don't know what the heck I'm even talking about, don't worry. Don't worry, we've got you covered. We're going to take you through what this concept is, where it comes from, and how it can be applied to Warhammer armies. And I do think this is important because in the end, it helps you pick the right armies that actually you will gain, uh, like a positive psychological utility from playing.
see, perfect. See, look at that. You like premise and solution.
There you
Perfect.
go.
Right at the intro. There
There
you
you
go.
go. All right. CJ says I'm an S tier player because I have fun when everyone has fun. That would make you an S tier player. That should be our definition of S tier players. Absolutely.
Right.
I love that.
S tier is like people who play like that, or Bill Souza, who can win with FEC, as we'll mention in a moment.
Mhm.
He's just a madman.
Yeah, that's all it is. At any rate, let's get into the news.
Yeah, just rubbing it in our faces. All right. As usual, it looks like it's a 40K thing with this rumor engine.
It is.
Seems
So who
like-
cares?
Yeah. I
Uh,
saw Warboss Kurgan said that he thought it was a corpse grinder cultist, which apparently is a cannibalistic cult gang that hangs out in the hive cities of Necromunda for anybody who cares.
Yeah, they have really cool looking
So-
weapons. It's a cool looking gang.
Yeah.
It could also be the new Corn stuff. There's been sort of a rumor that they've been sitting on a Corn remake on a what are they, like the
Oh,
World Eaters or something? I don't know Chaos Marine Regiment, so you'll have to forgive me.
yeah. sounds right.
Other than the Emperor's Children, which is the only one worth knowing, but of the bad guys. But the
which are the ones that have the most possible noise marines? Because those are the only ones I would
the
care
Emperor's
about.
Children. That's yes, correct. Those are the good ones. Yes, it's the
Yeah, all right.
Slanesh ones, like
Right
the
on.
sort of main Slanesh ones.
Right on.
At any rate, the rumor is they've been sitting on a remake of those for about a year and a half, and just been like they had to send a couple back to resculpt, and they weren't happy with some of them, and it didn't quite come together, so they just kind of shelved it for a little while. So maybe this is that. Who knows? I don't know. There we go.
I have an alternate theory.
Okay.
Okay.
It's Vampire Waves 2.
Sure, absolutely.
I'm,
Yes.
I'm gonna get that going now.
Yeah,
Get
it's,
it.
it's a stake chainsaw.
Yeah.
It's just like
yeah.
a wood. It's like this
Yeah.
is the anti-vampire stuff. So it's actually like
Yeah.
a chain. It's a chain
Yeah.
sword, but with like blessed silver.
Right. I had to necro that one
Just,
for everyone.
just
Yeah,
sawing
bring that
through
me- yeah.
vampires. First of all,
There
that's
it
a movie I'm in for. Secondly, let's do it. Okay.
Mm.
All right.
All right. So, are we there yet? Is it finally the Sunday that we're going to get the preview of these two battle tomes?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
We're still not there.
Does
Yeah.
Rob have his sign ready? Like, can
Well, if we
can
don't get
send
the
him-
FAQ signs, yeah, then Rob is going out with the sign this Saturday
Can we send him
Yeah.
additional signs to
because
go
we're
stand? Like,
more than 6 weeks out now for the 4-week FAQ. So
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Well, they had to
Right, that's
release
good.
Warcry or whatever, or Kill
Kill
Team
Team?
or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Kill Team.
yeah.
Yeah.
New 40K.
Yeah, well,
right? Yeah.
if we do get it this Sunday, that would keep their commitment of the August release, or at least pre-order. That would be the 28th, and then release on the 4th.
Mm-hmm.
So here's hoping.
Here's open.
We did get a couple of more articles. Orc War Clans preview article, which, let me pull it up here. Anything stand out to you guys? I did see there was a little bit of detail on that massive bow that they haven't.
Yeah,
really
I mean,
given
we
us
got
much
to.
yet,
The
but-
only thing that matters out of all of these articles, okay, like
Yeah.
I don't mean to shortcut the discussion, but there's one thing that matters out of all of these articles, all right, and
Yeah.
it's how the tree bow works, because that's what we were all asking. What is the damage profile on this giant thing that shoots trees at people in Cruel Boys, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it turns out it's one shot. We don't know the hit and wound yet because they didn't have that in the article. I'm assuming it's probably going to be like 3s and 2s would probably be my guess off the top of my head. It'll be
Yeah.
slightly inaccurate, but if it hits, it wounds because you're putting a tree through somebody, right?
Right.
It's like it's the old cannonball principle, right? Because all the original cannons were like 4s and 2s, like inaccurate, but if they hit, whammo,
Right.
kablamo.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, which I played a game where I still have some of those original cannons on my Steam Tank this last weekend. 3 rounds in a row, 3 ones to wound with that cannon. Loved it. It's great.
Nice.
At any rate, the way it works is like this. Its base damage is 2, okay, and then you roll a die for the equal to the you roll a number of dice equal to the wounds characteristic of the thing you just hit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for every 5+, the damage increases by 1, right?
Up to a maximum of 12.
Up to a maximum of 12. Yes.
Yeah.
So, first of all,
Just a slight amount of no fun allowed in there. They had to get
They
just
had
a
to get the
little
max in
bit,
there.
just a little bit.
I was immediately insulted because my War Stompa giant caps at 10 for no reason, and he can like auto hit 10, but yet theirs gets to go to 12. But fine, whatever. I'm not still angry about that. I mean, giants are going to get a lot of good stuff apparently, so I can't be too. I just feel like I'm the rich kid complaining at this point. But obviously, immediately everybody does the Mega Gargant math, which just means you do 12 to Mega Gargants. Like that's the instant math because you're rolling 35 dice, right?
Yeah.
12 of them on average are going to be 5+, so it's immediately capped. Bam! It's a 12 damage shot into giants, into Mega Gargants.
Seems
So,
all right.
It's all right.
So it seems
Pretty
all
good.
right.
That's a good chunk out of one of them. Yes, that is a great counter action to the giants. So especially because there's probably gonna be some way to make that thing fire twice.
Right, and I mean it is the Giants' world, and we're just kind of living in it right now, so it's okay to like start taking them down a peg, I think.
Yeah. So that's the thing to talk about those articles. I mean, all of this means nothing until we get the books because we got to know how this stuff looks. But yep.
Yep.
Like, we want to know them synergies. Let me know them sweet synergies, baby. That's what I want to know. Did they get this right or not? That's the question.
Right. I mean, War Clans was, for my money, one of those like low-key sort of great books from last edition.
Completely agreed. It's a fantastic book.
And like, can we get the repeat? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before. I've said it before the previous book where I was like, just reprint what you've currently got. And then every time they've done it, they haven't, but they've made it better. And that's a really high bar. Like 3 times in a row now, they've just made it better. Can we get a 4th, or will we get Slaneshed?
Oof, I love that it's become a verb now.
It absolutely has.
I mean, just one last bit before we move off of this. They've actually got a couple like decent spells too, which is always, I think, a pretty good indicator though. Like when you have a couple like good spells.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There is a couple of good spells. Big FAEC says wounds per unit or model. No, it's the wounds characteristic of the unit you're targeting. So like if you shoot annihilators with it, you would roll 3 dice, right? And so it's chances are it does 3 damage. That would be the mathematical average of that. It's meant to shoot big things. It's meant to shoot dragons and giants and vampire lords on zombie dragon and crap like that. Like that's what you want to put it into, because then you're getting like 5, 6, 7 damage shots. The real question is going to be what's the rend, because if it's like rend neg 1, big thumbs down. If it's like
Right.
Red Neg 3, big
Yeah.
thumbs up.
Yeah.
And yes, I am aware, Soren. We'll talk about it. All right. Cool.
Yeah, so I just got a heads up about 5 minutes ago. Apparently, we have some Dracoth Rider stats.
Ba-bam! That's right. So we got leaks of the Dracoth Rider, both the Lord Celestant on Dracoth, as well as the Dracoth Riders themselves. We know the Dracoth Riders are battle line in Hammers of Sigmar. As I've said, I've always been a Hammers of Sigmar player, so
Yep.
I'm glad to.
Tape checks out. Like
Yeah.
I went back
We
and
could
checked.
go back and look.
Yeah,
I've always said it. I've always been a Hammers of Sigmar player. I'm excited for my all dragon army because the Knight Draconis will make my Dragon Riders battle line, and Hammers will make these guys battle line, and all of the dudes I'm currently painting will never get used, which is exciting. But there was a significant stat upgrade here. Like the base Dracoth now, if you look, he's the last profile here. You see how they're matching the little colored sections, the numbers, whatever. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the base Dracoth on the Lord Celestant is 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, neg 2 rend, 2 damage. So definitely a nice upgrade. If we go over here to the regular Fulminators, their Dracoths are 3 attacks each instead of 4, but still good. Still 3 3s, neg 2, 2 damage. So like neg 2 rend attacks and 2 damage on the Dracoths is fantastic upgrade. The Lord Celestant 7 wounds, 3 up base save, 9 bravery. So a great hero. Like that's fantastic. That's what you want to see. I don't know if he'll be any good or not. We'll see. His profile is like fine. I'm not that interested in it. He's not really what I'm here for. The question is, do the Fulminators still do what they used to do as far as their special rules go? That we don't know. But the concussors, baby, I'm all about these concussors because they were sort of the damage dudes, if you remember.
Yep.
And the concussors are 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, neg 2, 2 damage for the guys on top. So total per model, you're getting 6 attacks at 3s, 3s, neg 2, 2 damage.
Pretty sweet.
That's great.
Yeah, I don't think any of them were -2 rend previously.
No, so it's a lot of up rend and a lot of up damage. The Desolators and the Fulminators are both still only 1 damage, but they did both go to neg 2 rend, and the Fulminators got 2 extra attacks as well. They went from 3 attacks to 5 attacks, which is good. So if their special ability is good, they could be the pick, right? If you're not trying to get them for damage. Like if they still have the, bonus to shooting or whatever, like they get tougher against things that shoot at them, like they get a +1 to save against things that shoot at them or something like that. That could be a really, really amazing ability because then that unit just becomes just almost unshiftable to a lot of ranged threat.
Well, and we've seen they're willing to play with capturing rules with Stormcast Eternals too. So like, that could be a good omen as well. And is anyone else getting deja vu with 3.0? Because it feels like we're kind of in the realm of like the more things change, the more they stay the same. I remember when I was getting in like the old mixed order list with like a pack of Fulminators and like you're running mixed order and stuff. Like,
I mean, I hope
your old Hammers list basically is what I'm saying.
Yeah, sure. What I was running, in
Of course.
2016. Yeah, right, absolutely.
Yeah, the list that Les Martin stole. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah,
we all know it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, like these are great stats. So yeah, 6 wounds by the way on these guys. They'll still come in packs of 2, obviously. Which is I love packs of 2. 6 wounds meaning they count as 2 for taking objectives. 2 meaning you can reinforce them to 4 and still use the good coherency rules. So yeah, man, these guys are great, and I'm all about the whole unit, just down the line being Ren Neg 2, just everything.
Yeah, pretty tasty.
So
well, very cool. Digging it.
Oh.
I think that's it for the news. I know we got some events. Was there anything else in news?
Let's see. Yes, there was, my friend. How could we forget about the Sons of Behemoth? Did I not put that in there?
Oh, yeah, the Sons of Behemoth. Yeah, here it is. No, I just missed it.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I thought I had it in
There
there.
it is. Yep.
All right, folks. Hold on.
I'm ready for the spice. Are we gonna get like full spice, medium spice?
Yes, as Crazy was pointing out, they used to be 5 wounds, they're now 6. I didn't mention that, but which is awesome.
Yeah.
The Dracoth Raider. So
Just all the better for Kragnos players, really.
Yeah, super upgrade all around. I'm stoked about Dracoths. I was hoping they'd be good. They were good. Okay, now it's angry time. All right. The thing we absolutely, positively, 100% in no way, shape, or form needed in this edition we're getting. So, yay. In the newest White Dwarf, we revealed that we are going to get new core battalions and new grand strategy and or ease and battle tactics for every army. So we can look forward to these in the Stormcast and War Clans book as well. I am not pleased about any of this. And like, this is truly the worst of all possible worlds. The best part about having the new core battalions was them going, hey, remember how we couldn't balance battalions? And we were all like, yeah, you can't. And they were like, well, don't worry about that anymore. We made a simple set of like 6. And maybe we'll throw a couple in seasonally for spice in the GHB that have to do with that year's theme. And then that's what everybody uses. And I'm like, wonderful.
Yeah.
Great. This is what I wanted. I feel like we have parity here. And sure, some people can take advantage of some of the battalions better than others. There's no doubt about that. Right? But of course, we all know that, that like, in the whole, it's still generally balanced, right? Like, most armies you could get a hold of, like, a warlord if you wanted. Everybody could take Hunters of the Heartlands, which is something most people liked, right? I'm not done yet, Meth, but I'm going to pause.
No, keep
please.
going. No, I'm just,
okay.
Just the only thing is, like, at least everyone's at the same party now, right?
Right. It felt like we were all together. Like, yeah, we've all got this. And sure, giants couldn't really take the battalions. Oh, I've seen defending this like 100 times, and it is the most smooth brain take on defense for this move. Okay, like, I'm sorry, I play giants. Am I excited about these battalions? Sure, I'm gonna love putting them on the table. I already did. I played a game this last weekend with these new battalions. I ran like a 2-drop giant list where all 3 megas had artifacts. It was great. Okay. And like, boy, did I feel pretty good. I'm not sure how my opponents felt as I ran slipshot over them, but sure. The nature of the core battalions being like giants couldn't take advantage of them, so it's okay, giants get these. All right. Is the superest of bad faithist arguments, because they're going to do these for everybody else too. And so now we all just get our own battalions again. And the giants, let me flip over to the core battalions, because these are the first ones we should talk about. So first of all, I love 4, like, real things that happen with the bosses, the Stomp, and the Foot Sagas. I'm not even going to talk about it that deep. But is it confirmed this is for everyone and not just Sons? Yes, because they said this is the first of something, and everybody's going to get this treatment in the new Battle Tomes and in the upcoming White Dwarves.
They got to sell the White Dwarfs, man. Like, they got to, right?
And so, like, hey, look, if the Battle Tomes come out and they're like, hey, we were lying, the marketing people were wrong and lied to you when they talked about it, I'd be like, yeah, fine, great, best possible scenario. Okay.
Yeah, like, it was a coffee stain on the Post-it note to write the community article. Yeah.
But like, you know what this boss of the Stomp means is that all giant armies now, if you want, are going to be either like, you can be 1-drop with 2 artifacts, which is something you couldn't be ever before. Fantastic. That's a great play. You can be 1-drop with 3 artifacts if you want in Taker Tribe. So that's pretty great. You can be 2 drops, 4 artifacts in Taker Tribe. Also fun. Okay. Or 2 drops, 3 artifacts in any other tribe. All right. And yeah, I mean, it's really good. This is whatever. Who cares about this? Like, it's fine. Sure, they're both unified. Like, I don't know why giants were already in one of the better drop positions, because you were more or less always 4 drops, which is actually the competitive number to just roll off with people. So I don't know why we suddenly needed to always go to either 2 or 1, which is what this means is going to happen. Like, this construct of these battalions says they're always either 2 or 1.
Yeah. Well, sorry, go ahead, man.
No, you first, Tyler.
I was going to say that I think that's a big deal. I mean, at least at the tournament that I've seen, lists that I've been seeing, there's a lot of 1-drops and 2-drops that are out there. So if they're now not automatically having to go first every game, and now potentially opening up that double turn, that's a pretty big deal. But sure, they were already low drop.
They were already low. Now you can just be 1 or 2, your choice every time. Right? Like, period. That's like every giant list, because of the way these are constructed, is either 1 or 2 drop, or you're doing it wrong. Okay, and then the like whatever, these are terrible that we have to now put up with these, and everybody will have their own battalions. Like things I don't want. I don't want to know what new change host is going to look like or whatever. Okay,
Right.
I don't want to know.
So,
But
where are you saying that they said that? That was in the.
It was in the original thing where they talked about in the White Dwarf. It's like this is the in the White Dwarf. It says like this is the first
okay.
of all the articles we're going to launch up to bring you up to. Since we won't be able to launch all the battle tomes, we're going to do a series of White Dwarf articles, and we're introducing all the new rules that'll bring your armies up to 3.0 readiness with their new rules that you can expect to see for all armies. It was something like that.
It was the language is very like prescriptive. Like it made it sound like it was foreshadowing like the future. So
right. Yes.
This is it, and there's more to come, right? Like this is this, and there's more to come, right?
Right. Now I should point out, you're absolutely right. So Hamza's pointing something out. Like you can, there is a slash here. Okay, so you have to like make decisions about how you're doing this stuff, because my point is you can play with it's either unified or the thing. Yes, that is absolutely correct. You can take the unified. You can go into Taker Tribe. You get the bonus artifact from Taker Tribe, right? And so on and so forth. So yes, you're absolutely right. The grand strategies and the battle tactics is actually what drives me crazy. Okay. Because like the thing that really like grinds my gears is the grand strategies and battle tactics. We all were pulling from a unified pool, so you kind of knew what they were, and there was counterplay against them. You could play with them. You knew what people are trying. Now, the fact that all of these are just straight terrible, like I'm not even going to talk about them because they're all bad, okay, means nothing to me, right? Like, you would never use these battle tactics because they're just, like, more things you have to remember, and they're almost all just on a dice roll that you have no control over, right? Like, roll a 3-up, complete your battle tactic, roll it 1 or 2, you don't. That's what most of these are, okay? But just like, let's multiply this out. 25 armies, great. Now we've got 75 additional battle tactics. But but that's not really what's going to happen. Okay? What's really going to happen is not every army will get this treatment, because you're not going to get a battle tome or a White Dwarf article out for every army, not in any rapid amount of time. So what's going to happen is you'll get let's say 15 armies between all the battle tomes and the White Dwarf articles in a year. Let's just say. Okay? So that's 45 unique battle tactics that theoretically just go from year to year and carry over regardless of the GHB. Right? So 15 armies have them, and 10 don't. And of those 15 armies and those 45 battle tactics, some are going to be slam dunks. Right? Some, like, the fact that these are all terrible doesn't tell me anything about what's coming in the future. And some of them will just be bad. Some of them will be really good. They'll just be more auto-completes, and suddenly those army can go to 5 right away. Because they've got 2 to 3 that are great in their personal list, and then they can just get whatever the lowest hanging fruit is out of the base list. Whereas the have-nots will then struggle. This is a bad idea. I've said it from the very beginning. I'm against it. We should all be playing from one list. I shouldn't have to memorize 45 different battle tactics. So, rant over.
Matt, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think your best, I think the strongest take in all of that is, like, you said something before, rewind, like, to, might have been your Hammers of Sigmar era, that you said this, but you said something along the lines of, we play a game of perfect information, but not perfect recall.
Right.
And that's what you're doing when you're divvying up this stuff. We're supposed to all have the same amount of information about everything at all times. Yeah. And you're just putting another sort of like a wedge between that perfect information, perfect recall. If it's all coming out the core book, you know, if it's all coming out the awesome little like GHB version we got with the core rules, right? Like if it's all coming out of there, it's the one thing. You know, we're all on the same page. You know, I mean, we can both look at the list together. We're both looking at a shared 8, and it's great. I love it. It's one of my favorite things, honestly, about current 3.0 is like, this is the 8. I still think that's too many, by the way, but whatever. I'm living with it. Like, I'm looking at the 8 going, this is our 8.
which one are you? You know, like, oh, it's your turn. Don't forget to pick your battle tactic. And they're like, oh, I'm doing this one. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I know what that one is. All right,
Yeah.
let me think about
Yeah,
that.
and you like narrow your eyes and you try to like you're about to like you're locked in, you're engaged
Right.
in the game.
They go, well, I'm going to pick broken ranks, and that battle line unit's what I'm picking. And I'm like, okay. Immediately, I'm like, can I save that battle line unit? Right? Do I have the command points to to all out defense them in the appropriate phases? Should I focus on a redeploy with them to pull them away, right, so that they can't charge them? Can I deny them this battle tactic, right? Because
Right.
I know what it is. And somebody's going to say, I'm using that's mine. And I'm like, what was that again? What one's that? And they'll be like, oh, it's the one where I kick an objective and roll 2d6. And then magically I either complete the battle tactic or don't, and you have nothing to say about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, great. Which, by the way, it's terrible. Like, that's a terrible, 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 terrible battle tactic.
They had a hard time getting to 8 compelling battle tactics, and
Right.
they're going to have 5 like the thing is there's just going to be like a couple of niche ones throughout. If this is the future, right? Like I'm going to live in the speculative for a moment here. If this is the future, there's going to be like a couple of just like great ones, just absolute like slam dunks for a couple armies, which is going to dilute some of that parity. If I can go back to battalions for a second, I'm curious your thoughts on this because you have a very strong opinion on this. Do you think that maybe we don't all get battalions? Maybe it really is just like, oh man, like
I would love that. It'd make my
Gargants can't use them all. Like it really is like there's a coffee stain on the post-it note.
Sure.
It really is like Gargants get these. That does pose an interesting throttling mechanism for Gargants as the 3.0 develops and power. I don't want to call it power creep, just like power sort of shift.
Changes around, yeah.
Yeah, like as power jockeys around, you have another lever to pull with Sons of Behemoth, an army that's very, very, very difficult to balance with points. Sure. Now you can like inject these new, you can throttle with those battalions. Like, what do you think on that? Or
yeah,
what
I don't disagree. Like, Giants pose a really interesting challenge, right? Because it's a 4-unit army, right? Like that's what it is. And by that I mean it's like that's it. And it's your army's 4 units, and you play 4 units. Like that's what you have. You have some combination of 4 megas or packs of babies. Like that's what you've got. That's your army, right?
Right.
And so, it just makes it like, and look, I'm not saying that the giant ones are OP. Like, that's not my argument. Please don't mishear me. Okay. Like, I don't think it makes, I certainly don't think it makes giants any weaker. It's certainly a power up for them. Okay.
Right.
But like, my concern is not giants is OP, hence is bad. Please don't be so reductive with my take. Right. I'm not like that's. I just want to go ahead and jump this out there. Yeah. And so the my take is we didn't need these. They're bloat. Ultimately, what it comes down to is they're bloat. Like, look, I'm excited. I loved taking basically like an extremely like a 2-drop giant list. With an extra artifact in it or whatever. I was like, yeah, it's great.
This is what I wanted. Thank you for the candy.
Sure.
Right, like all the candy for me. Like I took multiple, I had 2 casters in my giant army. I don't know how that happened, but suddenly that's true. I had 2 casters and a 5-up ward save because I had the little shiny, ear piece, and then somebody was carrying the arcane tome, and then somebody had a 5-up ward. Felt pretty good to me.
Yeah.
And then it just goes back and forth of who has the flaming sword, who has the mystic shield. It's could go either way. Who's going to be in the fight?
Right.
I need it.
Yeah.
Who needs the O? Who needs the D? So, it just isn't necessary. But the battle tactics and the strategies are what really, if you want to pull like the thorn in my paw, like it's this. The battalions are just like, it's breaking what was a perfectly simple, elegant system. Okay. But this is just nonsense. This is nonsense.
Right.
Yeah, just getting back, one thought on this, just coming back from a tournament, we had a scoring sheet, and that scoring sheet had the battle tactics and grand strategies on it. Obviously, you're not going to be able to do that with however many battle tactics and grand strategies we're going to be looking at here soon.
Sure.
And so, yeah, I've really enjoyed as well this more constrained shared space that we've been operating in, and this potentially, conceivably, is going to blow that out of the water. Yeah. Doesn't make a lot. I'm not really sure what the upside is on it.
Yep.
But here we are, apparently. Should we real quickly say what these are? Haven't actually mentioned what the 3 battle tactics are. I could run through them real quickly.
I mean, sure, I'll give them real quick. The grand strategy is make the land tremble. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if any friendly units made a run or charge move in every battle round. So it's a win more one. The only way it's slightly better than the normal one is if, like, the only way you'd lose this is if all your giants got engaged every round, right? And so you couldn't make one of them run or charge. You understand what I'm saying? Right?
Yeah,
like, otherwise
absolutely.
you're just gonna run or charge every round, like with one guy. You can always do it. So unless somebody
Right.
like alphas all 4 of your giants and gets them all engaged,
Yeah.
right? Then you can't. Whatever. That's the only excuse where this isn't. This is just generally worse than keep all your battle line alive or keep all your monsters alive.
Yeah.
The only way it's better is if you get tabled in round 5, but you've already had a turn. So you have to get tabled at the bottom of 5.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then it's better.
See, I just hear galaxy brain strategies down the line is all I'm hearing right now.
The battle tactics are matched to each one of the giants. Okay? So that's mine is you pick an objective not in your territory, kick it into your territory. Ridiculous, you'd never take it. Because most objectives are pretty far outside of your territory, and you'd have to like line up a kick, the first one, to get it so near to your territory that the second one just almost can't fail. Because otherwise you're just rolling 2d6 and going, hope I get high enough. Right?
Sure.
It's just complete dice. There's nothing else to it. Like, you're 5 inches away because it has to land wholly within your territory. Right? Okay, well then I hope you can roll at least a 5 or whatever, right? Or a 6. Like, but if you don't, you lose it. That's it. It's just rolling dice to get complete a battle tactic. The next one is the Wrecking Crew. You complete this tactic if a faction terrain feature in your opponent's army is demolished in this turn. First of all, hilarious. Second of all, again, a random roll, right? Outside, like, it's a random roll on the Breaker, or if you're in the Breaker tribe, you can make your babies do it as well, or your monsters can do it if you use the general monster ability, right? So, but again, it's a random roll. It's 3 up. 1 or 2 you fail. 3 plus you succeed. Now you can have multiple giants around it, all trying to roll 3 ups. So sure, it's probably the best one. But again, it relies on actually there being opposing faction terrain. Not every army has that, so there's going to be some games where you literally you could not theoretically use this. And then man's, whatever the last one is, I don't know. It's the worst one. Okay, you complete this tactic.
The worst one.
Yeah, if a friendly War Stomper Mega Gargant uses Hurled Body, and then the enemy that you pick for the first part of this ability is slain, and then I don't know how many ands we need here, but an enemy battle line unit is picked as the target for the second part of the ability, and suffers any mortal wounds as a result. I don't know why my dogs are all down here.
Happy doggo. Yay.
Hey, enough.
That was a good show when it's a doggo show, man.
Yeah,
Sure.
doggo show now. I get she's lazy. She's over there.
So the point, like, and just so for everybody who doesn't know the math, Hurled Body, the way you do is you grab the model, you have to roll over their wounds characteristic. So you get a +2 to that if you're an unwounded War Stomper. Not super hard most of the time. But then you have to pick a battle line unit for the target, and the Hurled Body to cause the mortal wound is just a straight up 4-up check. Like, there's no bonus to that ever. It's just roll a 4-up, it happens. Okay? And then they have to suffer the wound. They can't save against it. So,
Yeah,
anyways,
that's a strange one. Yeah.
yes, they're all bad. But I don't care. I don't care that these are bad. Future ones might not be.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, TOs can only make their own choices on
Right. The
whether we're
grassroots
going
game.
to- Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I'm not excited about this direction, but I don't know. Maybe there's be some bright sides, some upsides. I doubt it, but maybe. Anything else? News?
No, I think that is all of the news. I'm sorry to bring everybody down with that rant, but yeah.
Just remind everyone that dragons are probably going to be actually sweet, and like we're back up
dragons
again.
will be sweet, and I am excited
Absolutely.
about them. Yeah. All right, so yeah, let's talk some pick of the week, gentlemen. Matt, what would you like to share with everybody for pick of the week?
Well, so I want to do a little bit of a community building thing before I get into my pick of the week, which is Summer Slaughter just wrapped last weekend. 98 people, run by Jared and the 0-5, the basement war gamers, right? 98 people on the East Coast. This is like one of the biggest tournaments they've had in 10
Mm.
years for fantasy, and I just awesome. People who are curious about tournaments and they feel kind of like landlocked in not a way. Like there are tournaments out there, and so just shout outs to them for doing a great job. You got Martin Orlando now with the Atlantic City Open, and so that's 2 East Coast tournaments that are just cropping up now to really sort of bring in some more events. I think that's really awesome. For pick of the week, I gotta shout out people in chat gang. So first of all, Snitbag, he's been a consistent member of the people who support me, and he started streaming recently. He's an actual painter, which I am not. So you can go and watch him paint stuff, and then come watch me just have opinions on things. So Snitbag on Twitch, and if you don't do the Twitch thing on YouTube, you got the Pants Mafia. Pants Mafia YouTube or Pants Mafia AOS. That's Christian wear, minimum pants, maximum pants, moderate pants. Those 3 just absolute paragons of the community doing bat reps. Christian did like a world tour where he went around playing everybody, doing bat reps, and now they're doing some TTS stuff and just sort of like challenging. It's just that sort of like cross pollination. Like you're seeing awesome players play like cool people from across the world on this humble little YouTube channel. So just shout outs to Pants Mafia.
Very nice. Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Tyler, your pick of the week.
Why don't you let me do my pick of the week last?
Okay, that's fine.
That'll lead into some hobby.
That's fine. We'll do that. My pick of the week is actually Richard Gray. He put up part 2 of he was painting actually a 40K thing, but it doesn't really matter because it's more just the lessons. Richard Gray has a channel on YouTube. For those of you not familiar with Richard's work, he's one of the best painters in the world. He is absolutely amazing. One of my personal painting heroes and idols, and the fact that he has now decided to start putting content out on YouTube as well. They are very long episodes. They are just him talking as he takes you through exactly what he does to paint. The most recent one is linked. He takes you through a lot of different theories and concepts and recipes and everything else as he's working there, and just really shows you how to achieve what he's painting is, according to him, extremely high tabletop. Let's be honest, for most of us it would actually be display, because that's the nature of Richard Gray. But he's a master of understanding lighting and color and the way paint works and texture and everything else. It's a masterclass every episode, and I couldn't recommend it enough. So if you're interested at all in painting as a part of this hobby, go check it out. So there you go.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, he's incredible. Okay, so a few picks of the week. We've got AWS Coach's latest Talking 3.0 with Konstantinos. He stole our guest, Vince. We were going to have Konstantinos on and do a Blades of Corn show. It's incredible. Konstantinos' knowledge of corn it's hard to beat. The man knows his corn. So if you want to see what you can do with that faction right now in 3.0, definitely check that show out.
Very nice.
It's a good one.
It is. Everything will be linked down in the description. So hobby time. Tyler, do we want to jump straight into this? Is that where you want to go?
Well, let's jump straight into it. Yeah, this is going to be the other. Yeah, so I'm going to try to form complete sentences here. My brain has been in shock all day. So I stepped outside this morning and I had a box from Vince. He had asked me for my mailing address a week or 2 ago, and I had no idea why. And I get the box inside and I start to open it. It's a bunch of bubble wrap. Unwrap the first piece of bubble wrap, and none other than a beautifully painted little piggy falls out of it, a gore grunta. So I immediately text Vince asking, "What have you done?" Because I don't know what's going on. And so I call him, and thankfully he answers. And he tells me about a culprit that he has in this scheme. none other than Anthony Polcastro. Of course, he's always a good candidate for
Crazy Horse
for
in the
not
chat. Yes, absolutely.
Crazy Horse in the chat. Yeah. And so I get them both on the phone and proceed to learn. This doesn't. I don't know. I don't want to. I don't know how to talk about this because it's very. Yeah.
I can share the story if you want. Let me.
You want to do it?
Sure.
I'm not going to do this very well.
No, that's fine. So here's the story. Tyler had some beautiful armies, and for various reasons had to get rid of them. So he was currently without army, but playing a lot, and he'd been playing a lot of Ironjaws. And I had always told him he should play Ironjaws, and he's been playing Ironjaws and really enjoying it. And so Tyler, I owe a lot, both for stepping in for Tom, as well as helping me out in several other ways. I'm deeply indebted to the man for my entire life. And so Mr. Polcastro, Anthony, contacted me and said, hey, if I can score an Ironjaws army, would you paint it up for Tyler? I said, sure. It was probably a little longer conversation than that, but I said, sure. And so I did make Anthony assemble them. I will say that openly. But he was nice enough to do that, and then he boxed them up and shipped them to me. I painted the army. There will be a fun video coming out about this in a couple weeks. I did record everything, so you can see how I painted the whole army. And I also did that just so Tyler would literally have a visual reference in case he needs to ever have anybody paint anything else. All the steps are there, so people know how to recreate this scheme. But I also thought it would be a fun video because painting an army is always a fun thing to do as a video, and it was all in yellow. I wanted to do my take on the classic GW yellow Ironjaws, but not make them look so bright and, I don't want to say dumb, but the regular yellow Ironjaws just don't, like, I don't know.
Cartoonish, right?
Yeah,
like
thank
it's,
you. That's,
yeah, not
thank
so,
you,
not so
Meph. That is
Warcrafty.
the
Yeah.
perfect
Yeah.
word. I wanted them to look much more, like, gritty and brutish and like they're actually people who fight. So
They are amazing.
thank you.
I mean, they turned out so well.
So yeah, so Tyler's got an army now. There are actually two Maw Crushes. I don't have them both in this picture because for various reasons you'll see in the video how I did it, how it's going to happen. There's some fun stuff that happens there. Why the one Maw Crush is not in this picture, but they're both now painted with Tyler. So
that's awesome. This community, man, come on.
Meph, what the
wrong.
hell?
What?
Like, this is absurd. I mean,
That's awesome.
it was
Yeah,
absolutely
I mean,
deserved. 100%.
It couldn't happen to it. Like, I mean, I joke that you're the
Nah.
godfather of AOS content, and you don't take the term, but you've done a lot for this community. Those early Scrubby Wells and kind of like a rallying cry for some of this stuff. It couldn't have happened for a better guy, honestly. So I'm very. This makes me happy, and I just hearing about this is great. Vicariously living through my friends in the community.
Yeah, my brain was literally constantly repeating WTF for a good 3 hours just on repeat. I don't understand reality. Anyway, I don't know how to react to it. I'm kind of overwhelmed today by this. I mean, it is very, to folks like us, something like this gesture is beyond meaningful, and I'm deeply appreciative to what Polcastro and Vince decided to do. It's not deserved. So I'm kind of sitting uncomfortably with it, but I'm very grateful for it. It's a phenomenal army. I love Ironjaws. Vince has been telling me, I need to play them for years. To have an army painted by someone who doesn't paint people's armies, this is not something Vince does. It's very, I'm
Now you gotta go to NashCon and beat Best Painted, beat his army that he brings with
Well, yeah, it was a shame that
Ironjaws.
Tyler's not joining us at NashCon because originally we were going to surprise him with it at the tournament. Oh, here we brought an extra army for you. Oh, it's yours. Like that.
This is one of the lessons, Meph. Never dare to miss NashCon, or weird things will happen.
No. Fair.
Anyway.
So yeah, there you go. So that was the big secret project I was working on. Obviously, I couldn't talk about it because Tyler was there, but hilariously, as I pointed out, there was a couple shows we did where I left some of the models around behind me in the shot, like in here,
like a David Lynch film.
Yeah, exactly. So that people could go back and be like, "Oh, it was there the whole time." Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, so that's the Ironjawz army. I hope you get lots of good play out of it and enjoy it there, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Quit,
yeah.
quit building trees and start smashing and bashing trees.
That's
like,
right.
Let's go.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm beyond excited.
So yeah, and like I said, all of it's recorded for a video, so people will be able to, if you like the scheme and want your own dirty yellow Ironjawz, it's you can follow the steps and join in the fun. So there you go. It was not an army in 24 hours. I will tell you that much. It was more than that.
We've been talking about this secret project for weeks, like more than a month. It seems like.
Well,
you mentioned it on
I am-
Rantathon, actually. Like,
I am. Yeah.
I believe I think I might have been working on it during Rantathon, man. I'm pretty sure.
Oh my
When
God.
I was on, I think
I
it
was
was right off
watching that
screen and I was
show.
working on it. I'm pretty sure.
I donated during your segment. Oh, that's insane. I
Yeah.
am so naive. Like I feel with all of this. Like
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
anyway.
this is what I was painting during the Rantathon.
Amazing.
Beth. Yeah, I had to make sure I didn't pull it up into camera ever, right?
That's right.
So yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, you're more than welcome, Tyler, and I hope you enjoy. And I look forward to
Thanks,
seeing you
sir.
at some tournament sometime soon with them.
You got to go beat him with the army at like on the table, but then also in the painting competition.
The two of you are at like the top of the list. I can't. I've never played a game with either of you, which is absurd.
That is
But
that,
yes,
that
we're gonna-
somehow seems wrong.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, we're gonna have to correct that.
For my hobby time, it's been obviously I finished all that up and shipped that out. That was actually done last week, but it's been very busy. I got my second rat done for my Ratcast, and I'm working on my third. I've got the third one's armor almost done. Maybe like 20 minutes left on the armor for the red plates, and then it's all the non-metallic steel. And then once you get that done, then it's just slam dunkaroonie from there. It's just little tiny details. So I've got this scheme down now to about, like, I'm not doing the bases. I figured out the bases took a long time. So I'm just going to do all the bases at once at the end because I think that because the bases I can mass produce. So I've got them down to maybe like 12-ish hours, something like that. 10, 12-ish hours. That's actually pretty doable. So I'm hoping if I practice on enough of these little guys, when it comes time to paint the Dracoths and the Dragon Riders and stuff, that I'll be able to go. That it won't be that much longer. I mean, it's still a normal Stormcast on the back of them. Then I just have to add a monster in, right? So yeah, there we go. So third rat in the pipeline, coming along. I'll have a whole unit of Vindictors pretty soon. In a week or two. He's my
Are
first
you using
finished
like?
unit.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, what are you gonna say, buddy?
Are you using storm vermin heads for those? Because those like the actual
Yeah.
like the nice right on. Like
Yep, I don't know if it shows up
wow.
there. This is
no,
like,
I mean I thought the proportions would be whack, but like they're not.
no. They're Stormvermin have big heads. Honestly, almost too big. I had to use very particular. Like this is one of the female bodies, right? And like you have to use kind of the smaller heads for the females. This is actually one of the bigger ones that I didn't really notice until I had put her head on, and I was like, oh geez, that actually looks kind of too big. So on the rest of them, I have the sort of smaller head. But yeah, storm vermin heads are big. So yeah, they
chunky.
fit
Right on.
great. Yeah, they're chunky. Like on the dude bodies, because the dude frame is slightly bigger. They fit. I mean, just like aces. Perfect.
Awesome.
It's exactly
Awesome.
the right size.
Will Skig be the Celestant Prime?
Skig will be in the army. Yes, 100%. That the whole army is because of Skig, and all of that. Will I have rat dragons? Yes. I mean, they'll be dragons. It'll just be rats riding them because it's a Stormcast army. It's not like Fall into Chaos or anything like that. It's redeemed Skaven, so they are good, right? And so like I've got to be careful how much Skaven-y crap I integrate because they wouldn't, like the dragon would still be the dragon. It was a redeemed Skaven given amount, right? You didn't.
Right.
So like it'll be more through freehand patterns or stuff like that. Skig will either be on a Torlon, a Stardrake, or he'll be the Knight Draconis, or something like that. He'll be
Right.
one of the mounted guys.
Right on.
So
right on.
there you go.
Now I gotta like write notes in like the mountain.
This is a future setting to our game, right?
Yeah, right.
But like, yeah, I've got nobody gives a crap about my narrative, but I do have a whole story worked out. Like, let me tell you about my D&D character is the worst way to start a sentence in the history of the world. But like, I do have a whole story I'm gonna write up and put in a little booklet that I take with the army. Like, this will be a super try-hard army as to how Skig led a bunch of Skaven to be redeemed and stuff like that. So.
You hear that, everybody? Vince Venturella, confirmed narrative player.
Yes, exactly.
Disgusting.
Right, and Donnie Rongo says, so you can't have a Celestant rat on Vermindrake. I mean, I can, yeah, exactly. Like, it would still be the normal dragon. Now, that's not to say I can't make little modifications or stuff like that, or speak through the color palette. Like, I'm going to have some of them with lightning arcing from them, and all the lightning arcing out of my Stormcast is going to be green, just as, like, a manifestation of the Skaven still make green lightning. You know, just little touches like that, right?
Right.
Yeah. Anywho, yeah, cool. So that's what I've been working on. Good stuff. I also got a bunch of videos made because I've got very busy weeks ahead of me. So, as I got some videos loaded up. Meth, what about you, man? What's been your hobby time?
So, I actually, for the first time since January 2020, have put paint on a physical model, but not just one. 3 models have physical paint put on them within the last week. Just color blocking right now.
It's all right.
Some Vargeists, and I'm not a good painter, but gosh darn it, I put paint on a brush and then I put that paint on models. So
that's fantastic, and I applaud it. There is nothing wrong with that. Even some base coats is still painting. You know what they look better than right now, Meth? I'm sure of. They look better than they did when they were gray plastic, brother. So
there you go. Yeah, right on.
You have already made them better. They're battle ready. There we go.
So, real quick, guys, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention attended Fly Monkey over the weekend at Wichita, Kansas. An amazing event. I just wanted to thank the TO Charles Fox. It was his first 2-dayer. Charles is a longtime watcher of the show. He did an amazing job with it. So thank you, Charles. And also another longtime viewer, Sean Sayer, was my first game. Sean gave me a hell of a game. He beat my butt with his Legion of the First Prince. Played it incredibly well. Kairos, Be'lakor, Bloodthirst of Insensate Rage, Wrath of Khorne, Bloodthirster, 10 Pinks, 2x5 Doggos, Portal, and Life Swarm. I think that was your list, Sean. And of course, all the nonsense summoning that you're getting every turn. You know, just 5 pinks popping up every turn, just for funsies. Great game, great guy, great list. But the tournament overall was really excellent. So, thank you, Charles.
Nice. Well, speaking of tournaments, let's bring up the event list and talk about that real quick before we go. So, we have a new event list. Make sure that's centered properly there. There we go. All right. So, yeah, we've got some August, September events. Now, obviously, the world is in flux. And, you know, things are moving around. But nonetheless, some events. Obviously, this weekend is NashCon, which we're all excited about. But beyond that, of course, which I think there is actually a spot or two open for. So if anybody's going to be around the Nashville area and you're looking for one of the most awesome events in the U.S., it's right there. But what other these events do you want to highlight there? There's a lot of good ones.
Yeah, well, this weekend we got Gateway Open, Ashcon, King of the North of Norway, and then the Polish Team Championship. I did want to give a shout out to Melbourne GT. That was the newest one that we added. So Smorgan, he had pointed this one out. That's going to be happening, I think, September 11th and 12th. So yeah, folks can find that on Facebook. Just a bunch of good events. We also had quite a few last weekend. So I mentioned Flying Monkey. I don't think you guys have heard about the Cities of Sigmar Phoenicium list that took out the tournament. I mean, there were a number of fascinating lists over the weekend, and I don't want to do it at the hour that I did last week, Vince.
No, I mean, here's what I'll say. The results from the first weekend of, like, really big tournaments, what it told me was despite some obvious problems, and there are a few obvious problems, like Archeon is problem number 1. Okay, we all know he's out there. He's a big bad. He needs to be upped in points, and that's fine. Okay? And we know there's also a problem in Gotrek and Marathi, lesser so, but they're both there. Like it's,
Mhm.
I rank those as like 1, 2, 3, right?
Mhm.
As in my problems. That's my relative assignment of problematism there.
She's perfectly fine without Mind Razor. Trust me, I've got the data.
Sure. Well, I mean, she'll be back to Redneck 2 whenever we get the FAQ. But sure.
Yeah.
Um, but I hear what you're saying. At only Rend 1 without Mind Razor, she can bounce.
She's an on or off switch at the moment, according
Sure,
to my last 8 games or so.
sure. But you know what we saw was actually a pretty healthy meta. Like you look at these big events, you look at the top tens, it was a very
Great
wide
spread.
Yeah.
swath of armies. There was of
Yeah.
course the usual suspects up there. You know, like yeah, there was Zinch and yeah, there was some like Thunder Lizard Seraphon is clearly coming into preeminence, which I'm not opposed to. That's the most fun sort of Thunder Lizard version to play against, or sorry, Seraphon to play against because it's just big stompies. I think it's super fun. It's what I always played. But you know, lots like those usual suspects are up there, but there were some daughters lists as well. There were some cities lists. You mentioned the Phoenicium list taking it out. Bill Souza
Yeah.
winning it with an FEC list, taking out pulling a big 5-0. You had multiple Slanesh lists going 4-1 and placing in the top 10. You had several like Iron Jaws lists being up there. Or I should say,
Soulblight
War
Gravelord's
Clans,
not a
yes.
fluke.
Nope, there
Not
was
just
a,
piloted by
No.
Brendan. Like
That's right.
Yeah.
Soulblight did well. Like there
Yeah.
was quite a lot of different lists. There was a couple Stormcast lists running off of like not a book, I guess is what I would say. Like sort of some cobbled together nonsense that they have right now. And a couple Stormcast lists did really well. I mean, there's more. I'm not mentioning everything, but when you look across the top 10, there was some
Yes.
Nurgle in there.
Mhm.
Like there was a lot of different lists occupying the top 10, and that's always how I judge the healthiness of the meta. I don't
Yeah.
just look at the top 3 because like Bill Souza won with FEC. That's a statement on Bill Souza, right?
Sure.
FEC is still in a bad place overall, but it shows that like if you're that good, I mean, Bill Souza is one of the best players in the U.S., probably in the world. Right?
yeah.
I mean, he's an incredible player. We're lucky Tom isn't here because if Tom was here, he would mention that he beat Bill Souza on the stream in Adepticon 2019. But but at any rate, I'll do it for him. That's just for you, Tom. In one of the closest games Tom has ever had, I'll point out. But you know, that's like it shows just that like, hey, look, if you are a good pilot in this meta, you can pilot your way to victory. And often the top 3 is decided more by luck, like exactly who they played against, exactly how the dice broke out. Like there's lots of different things like that. But the top 10 is where you see the health of the meta emerge. Thank you. Nick R mentioned that there were some ogres up there as well. Yep, 100%. There were multiple ogres across all the tournaments. Yep, even like some Blood Gullet, even though it looked a little more like Boulderhead, but it was actually a Blood Gullet list. But still.
Yeah, Blood Gullet took out Old Town Throwdown. And
Yes.
then Caradron list, I think, was in second at that one, 56
That's right.
players.
Yep.
Yeah. And then even had an Avangori list that was up there, top 5. Yeah, on the Cities of Sigmar list, I did just want to go into, just give it. I won't go into detail, but
please.
It's one that
mean,
you
a
look at.
Phoenicium list being in a top 10 is truly one of the most insane things that has ever been reported in the news.
Yeah. Crazier
Jeremy,
than pre-book Seraphon Adepticon, right? Like,
oh sure,
right.
Yeah, like crazier than that. Yeah.
I met James, saw James Tapia and met his friend James Tapia. You know, a good, awesome guy in the community. He showed up Friday night when Scott Sproul and I were getting a game in, my friend Scott, and met Jeremy. Jeremy was the one who took out the tournament they were telling us about it that night. And you hear it and you're like, not, 3-2, it'll be fine. Anointed on Frost Art, Arcane Tome, Ghost Mist.
Yep.
And then the Huracanum with the Battle Mage, Ambertide. The real key piece of the list, 3 Assassins.
Yep, 3 Assassins.
6 attacks. Yeah, I think I modified 6 to hit, D3 Mortals.
Yeah.
I don't believe, I can't, I'd have to look and see, or you guys might know offhand, whether you have to specify in advance in your list where they're going to pop out, which unit, or if you get to choose during the game. I didn't get a chance to ask Jeremy that. But 3x10 Phoenix Guard, 2x10 Shadow Warriors, and the Scourge Runner Chariot, Warlord Vanguard, Hunters of the Heartlands. Yeah, he took out the 3 Archeon, well, there are more than 3 the three top placing Archeon lists, or three of the top placing Archeon lists.
Sure.
The Host Arcanum, his last 3 games, all 3 Archeons, he took them out. Host Arcanum, Reapers of Vengeance, and then I'm forgetting the third one. What was the third one? Maybe James Tapia's Archeon list. I'm forgetting which one it was. But yeah, 3 Archeons with this list to take out the tournament.
Yeah, and the
props to you,
key was
Jeremy.
no, you do not have to dictate with the assassins, by the way, which is why they're so good. You can just say they're in reserve, and then they can pop out of any unit you want that has. They have to be 1 wound models, basically. 5 or more 1 wound models, they can pop out any unit like that. So obviously things like the Phoenix Guard work. But the key is then if they die, they turn on the Phoenicium's +1 to hit and wound ability, right? So it's like they pop out, they get slaughtered, and then the rest of the Phoenix are like, whoa, wham, and they go to work.
No, my pet human.
Yes.
It was actually my friend Dan. Dan had the other Reapers of Vengeance. So 2 Reapers of Vengeance and 1 Host Arcanum. It's pretty much, the Host Arcanum list that we've been seeing in the last, for quite a while now. So.
Frostheart Phoenix, Anointed on Frostheart Phoenix is no joke as a piece.
No, it's a super strong piece.
It's a really strong piece right now. So allying that into Border and wherever you can get it isn't a bad option. And you got an army that plays with it real nicely. So.
Yeah, totally.
Yep. I mean, neg 1 to wound is such a potent buff in the current meta, right? So.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, exciting times.
Unexpected, but a great list. Great list, great guy. There was one of the Slanesh list that when I looked at it and I literally went, I have no idea how this isn't 1 in 4. That's what I'll say. So whomever you are that piloted the list with 4 units of Painbringers, if you watch this show, please comment below. I would love the most detailed, but you can write me a novel. I will read it. Okay. I want to know how your games went, because I saw his path to victory as well. I saw the 4 art lists the 5 lists he played against. He went 4-1. He lost in round 5 against a Host Arcanum Zinch, which I was like, thank God, there's still some sense in the universe, right?
Right.
But I mean, he beat real lists. He didn't have a bunny run. Those were real lists he was playing. Okay. And I do not know what in the universe happened, but this person just became my personal hero. I want you all to know that. So good stuff.
Good on you. Evan Miller, Sigvald, Glutos, Lord of Pain, Keeper, 4x5 Painbringers, Battle Reg, Warlord was his list.
It's
and just
multiple pieces that I have said are trash.
Yep.
Is this you getting close to admitting you were wrong, or
no? Absolutely not. I want to know what Dark Pact, what sort of warlock-like incantation, what forgotten lost gods did this man seal a blood pact with to make this list win? I mean, he is. No, I mean that had to be excellent play and full kudos to him. Joking aside, that's really great play.
Their summoning is strong. It's just not.
It is, but what I'll say is that list going 4-1 shows more than anything what I'm talking about. This list is, this meta. I apologize. Is open, and that if you player skill is largely determinative right now.
Well, one of the greatest things about a new edition for me, or like a new GHB, is there's that period of time where people are trying to figure it out, and they're not locked in the confirmation bias of this is the list, this list win the tournament, so that I need to play that list to have my best chances. Right now, you get to actually kind of spread your wings and try some stuff, and because the nature of the game, the interactivity level, player skill is showing through a lot more because those extra decision making steps. So I mean, this is aim for the moon, everybody. This is your time. If someone's taking on tournaments with Venetium, and Slanesh
you can do it. You got a troll list you've always wanted to see go to the top. This is the time. You've got 4-1 can be in your sights. Okay, you can do it.
Someone earlier asking in chat, when is the time of the Croc score? Maybe it's now. I don't know.
I don't know. So there you
just
go.
To close this out, because we've been talking the other Slanesh list that I saw: Jacob Brandon's Gotzig's host, Summer Slaughter. He was top 10. Sigvald, Sinessa, Contorted Epitome, 22 Blissbarb Archers. Wow. 2 Seeker
Yeah.
Chariots, 2x5 Slick Blades, 5 Seekers, 2 drop. Good on ya, Jacob and Evan.
Yeah, a little more of what I would have expected. Like I've
Sure.
run a pretty close version of that list, and
Yeah.
it's like it's the finesse game list I've talked about, right? Where you can win with
Yeah.
it. That one I understood how it's winning. Because like I've played a pretty close version of that list before Sinessa was available. I think she's a great tool for it. Like I think Sinessa is such a wonderful addition to that list because it's this sort of like finesse mobile thing that just like can go do the work where it needs to, and it's very hard to pin down, and like in a sort of movement objective battle tactic world it's actually quite strong. So like that list, I love that list. I think like Seekers with the Seeker Chariots, the battle line pulling up it, yeah, good for that. Like
Right.
that one
Nice.
worked in my brain. If you're good and you like that type of play, which is a particular type of play, by the way, which we'll talk about in
Very
just a minute.
Johnny, you might
It
say.
is a very Johnny type of play. Yeah, you got it. That's exactly right.
Go.
The means that like you can win with that list, right? Yeah.
Right.
All right. Awesome. Well, gentlemen, shall we get to our main topic then?
Let's do it.
All right.
My body is ready.
So, main topic. Let me bring up that presentation. Ta-da! Psychographic profiles in Warhammer. Okay. So, I am excited about this. I am really, really excited about psychographic profiles and what this means and what we're going to talk about tonight. We are going to tier out all the armies. Don't worry. This is going to be super fun. I promise everyone. I'm going to make this.
Hey, was here in spirit with the tier list.
That's right. That's right. So tuck in for this one. I expect a lot of conversation in the chat about what people are thinking we're getting wrong. Okay. But what is this thing we're talking about? I'm going to lay some ground. Let me lay some groundwork here for everybody before we begin. So, what's a psychographic profile? Well, it's obviously a marketing term originally, right? It's for marketing and communication. And the psychographic profile as applied to gamers, specifically Timmy, Johnny, and Spike, were originally used in Magic R&D. I'm going to credit them to Mark Rosewater because I think he's the person who probably formalized it, although I think that, as he says in his original story, they kind of had been using this colloquially in concept even before he codified it. But, I mean, he's the one who codified it, so
Right.
So we'll give it to him. Mark Rosewater is a paragon of design knowledge. Like, if people haven't watched his 20 lessons from, 20 years of game design from the GDC conference several years back, it is like, it's just a thing every single person who, if you believe you want to do game design in any way, you need to go watch this talk, period. It's just, it is lessons I think about all the time.
Right. Or if you just want to pretend that you know more about games than you do, just watch it and just regurgitate every, like, points.
Also
one through 20.
good. Also good.
Yeah.
But psychographic profiles, the way they're used in marketing is because they're really asking different sorts of questions, right? To build a sort of persona. And the questions that they're asking in terms of gaming is what motivates the player to play, what kinds of things do they enjoy, and what keeps them playing, right? So it's not asking what they like, but why they like it. What do they want? What it's really plumbing for is psychological utility, right? Each of us draws positive or negative psychological utility from activities we participate in, right? And like, this is really simple to understand because in the completely bunk Myers-Briggs type of testing, right? Everybody, of course, defines themselves by those things. By the way, that test isn't real. It's all made up. Not that it can't tell you things about yourself, but it's not a scientific thing, so whatever.
It's not even a soft science, really. Like,
yeah, exactly. It's just whatever. I've got a chip on my shoulder a mile high about
it's
that
astrology for slightly nerdier people.
Right. But the most common thing people always get from it is the extrovert-introvert thing, right? And there is some truth to the concept of extrovert-introvert. It's not so easy to put people in those camps, right? But the idea is some people gain energy. They seem to get more enthused by spending time with other people, right? It doesn't tire them out. They're happy for it. It builds them up. They get more positive, more excited. It sort of adds spoons would be the modern colloquial way of saying it, right? Whereas some people spending time around a lot of others, talking, interacting, draws away spoons, right? That's
Right.
psychological utility. And so when we think about this in terms of armies, it's not what you like. I think this model looks cool, or I like to I think that orcs are neat. That's not what we're asking, right? Like, that's all fine. You can have all that stuff. That's all still part of the world. But what we're saying is, why do you like the thing? What's the experience, the expression, the goal, right? What do you want out of engaging with this thing, right? So there we go. Okay. Now let's talk about the 3 individual ones. But before I get into the 3 individual ones, Meph, I know you have a long history of playing Magic as well. Like, what are your any thoughts on the basic psychographic sort of profiling, or anything I missed before we get into the
Well,
I'll define all the 3 of these. Then
well, no, I think you touched a lot on it, and with sort of like utility of it. Like, you are less, I think, in a sort of practical sense, you are less fatigued when you're leaning into your play style. Maybe it's just the power of confidence and self-actualization, but like when you are in, that zone, that flow state with your army, I think it's because you're kind of resonating with that psychographic profile. If you're playing in Magic, if you're playing a deck you hate, it shows in your play.
Right.
It just, like, I'm playing this because it wins and I hate it, and it often shows in the high tense moments, because you're spending more sort of mental bandwidth to pilot something you dislike than something you like.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right.
Hmm.
It's exactly right. Like, I think one of the reasons this is so important, and I mentioned it at the top of the show, is because when you play things that aren't aligned to your psychographic profile, and by the way, it's very rare to have somebody sit 100% in one of these. Like,
It's a spectrum.
It's a spectrum, of course, but like, so most people are like, some from A and some from B, lean more into A, a little bit of B, whatever. But whatever. When you play something that's completely not aligned to your style of play, you're just going to have less fun. You will play less well. You'll enjoy the experience less. Things will tend to be more negative. Stephen Powell says, I'm missing Vorthos. No, I am not. I am not missing Vorthos or Melvin. Vorthos and Melvin are appreciation profiles. They are not mutually exclusive with this. They are testing for a different type of thing. They are not testing for the same thing a psychographic profile is testing for. They are valid. Like, Melvin and Vorthos are very real. Okay. But in as much as any of this is real, of course, this is all sort of post-Enlightenment categorization. But they're different. They're not psychographic profiles, because they're literally just testing you for a different sort of thing.
It's not play with those. It's more about design. Like,
right. What you appreciate. That's why they're appreciation profiles, because they're literally testing what you appreciate innately about the thing you are viewing.
Do you read the little quotes at the bottom of the card? Don't you? Like, that's what they're looking. That's not the yeah.
What's the elevator version of each, just for reference?
Well, let's get into it. Let's talk about that.
Oh no, I meant of Melvin.
Of Melvin and Vorthos, sure.
Vorthos,
so
yeah.
Vorthos is sort of the very narrative type of player. It would be the best way I would describe it in Warhammer terms, right? But it's the person who enjoys the broader... Vorthos appreciates the broader spectrum of what this thing sits within.
They actually think they're a planeswalker at the table, or that they are, if they put down Nagash or Archeon, they're Archeon right now. Like,
right. They enjoy piloting, like, they like the special character because they like to play the special character, or they enjoy the greater world or the narrative or the story of it. These have lots of permutations sort of in the sub-levels of it. But Vorthos has an appreciation profile. You appreciate the larger tapestry, is the easiest way I would say it, of the construct of the fantasy world, and this individual thing's place within it you're looking at.
I've got Marty Orlando firmly in my head right now.
Sure, 100%. Yeah, very Vorthos, right?
Yeah, the dismissive Magic joke is like, you're the one who reads the card text at the bottom, like you read the quote, like ha 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 ha. Like, look at this Vorthos.
Yes, like me doing a whole narrative for Skig's story and using the in-world stuff is super
Peak
Vorthos.
Yeah, peak Vorthos.
Melvin is Ninjan says, I am an ENTJ. Vince, please predict my astrological signs. Whichever one is full of crap, John, that's the one.
Sounds like an Aries to me.
Yeah, the Melvin is a little more interesting, because what they appreciate is a little more on the mechanical side, but they appreciate a sort of mechanical symmetry. Where everything seems to like logically work together. there's a classic card that's an example of this. That's like a 4/4/4/4 that when it comes into play does 4 damage distributed any way you want amongst any number of target creatures or players, right? And so it's like everything about this card hums together, right? It's also a lava worm monster that spits fire. So you're like, okay, yes, everything about this, there's a repetition of the numbers. Not that that's necessarily part of it, but it kind of helps, right? It all seems to align. Everything fits here. This all logically congeals. So Melvin is the person most sensitive to ludonarrative dissonance.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you read something and it's like, this is the greatest warrior that has ever walked the world. Any who have stepped against him in battle have been struck down by one blow of his incredible sword. Stats: 3 attacks, 4s, 3s.
Here,
one
presenting
red, 1
Lord
damage.
Celicent on foot.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah. No, like I always think of
Gotcha.
Melvin like Christian Bale's character in American Psycho, like when he's at the card, like he's looking at the cards, like the elegance of the cards, the way, like the print of this, the way this all comes together, like
that's the business card. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, just like
that scene is Melvin. Yes, absolutely. 100 is so good, Mev. So good.
That's why I'm here.
Okay. That was beautiful. All right. Okay. Ludo what a disso what? Ludo narrative dissonance. When the story does not align with the mechanics of what is actually being taken. Normally a video game term of like the meta narrative is about not killing people or finding your humanity, and then you're playing it in like a bullet hell shooter where you're just walking through wasting piles of bodies, right? Like the gameplay does not match the narrative. That's the classic example of it, right? Like The Last of Us is probably one of the worst things for Ludo narrative dissonance. Maybe the second one, I don't know. Anyways, okay, Timmy, I've picked particular models to represent all of these with the help of other folks. So, Timmy
Cabbage
is the mega boss on Maw Crusher. This is, which by the way, in case it's not super clear, I am like 75% Timmy.
Yeah, Timmy is Timmy is the most stereotyped one, I think, of all of the. But also, when you were like shopping around, like what model, like unanimously voted.
Everybody said cabbage.
Yeah.
Like no, like the other ones, there's like some maybe like no, 100%.
Crosswords, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. But
go
ahead.
But he's just the winner, right? He's just the winner.
Yeah.
Just unquestionably. Yeah.
So Timmy wants to experience something. He likes big monsters, big effects, big spells. Timmy plays for the journey, not the destination. This often gets sort of misapplied that Timmy is a bad player or doesn't play to win. Like, Timmy's still trying to win. It's just the win isn't as important as the experience. Like, if Timmy has a boring game and wins, that's a worse experience than a really interesting game where cool moments happened where he lost. Like, that is a psychologically more rewarding experience. If the Mega Boss got to go into a unit and just blow it up and just, like, did all the damage, but then Timmy ends up losing the game, he's like, yeah, okay, that was a fun game.
Great game. Yeah, great game. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And, like, this is me to so much of this is me. My most sad thing is when I play a big, cool, awesome monster, and then, like, it dies before it gets to go be a big, cool, awesome monster. Then I'm sad about the game. Like, even if I win, I'm like, eh.
Well, your dissonance felt with Gargants is that you're a Timmy and you wanted the Timmy experience with your Sons of Bahamut, and you got a little bit more of the Johnny experience, which we'll go on to define too.
100%. 100%, Meth. I agree. I will say that the AOS is
a Timmy game.
A Timmy game. Like if we were to zoom all the way out, it would be more Timmy than anything else. Right?
And the most Timmy that it's ever been right now.
Yeah. It's because we're in the year of the monsters, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Cinderfall Gaming says, Timmy uses finest hour on a Grot war boss, charging a bloodthirster to try and kill it. Absolutely. Yeah. That's a super Timmy move. Yeah. Like, yes. Yeah. Like the bloodthirster's at like 5 wounds. It's highly unlikely that he's going to get there, but he's going to take the shot, right? Take the shot.
Yeah. Yeah. Timmy is the hold my beer and watch this guy. Like, you know, like.
Right. Yeah.
Don't worry, Curran. We'll connect it for you. Like, he said he's not sure how to connect it to Warhammer. That's what we're doing here. So, yeah, to me, like, if you like armies that feature, I would say, like more straightforward tactics. So a lot of destruction falls into this category, but we'll get there when we start tiering out the armies. But like the mega boss, or a lot of ogres can play like this, especially like BCR, right? You know, Thunder Lizard Seraphon can play like this, right? It doesn't have to always be monsters. Sometimes it can just be big damn heroes, right? Or like things where you're just like rattling off big giant spells or effects or things like that.
Nagash has a certain Timmy quality to it,
100%.
because you're just like, you know, like the Nagash who queues up the spirit bomb with all of the arcane bolts and then just charges him with the sword. Like that's a very Timmy, you know, Nagash experience. You're like, it doesn't have to be like smashy. It can be like again, it's the big experience. It's the Timmy cares about the experience. They don't necessarily care about, they want to experience something. They want to experience the big effect, the big drama, the big
Right. That's such a good word, Meph. Such a good word. Big drama. That's, you nailed it right there. Because the other thing that Timmy is known for is Timmy has the highest tolerance for randomness. Okay. So like Skaven can end up being a very Timmy army because it has all these random effects in it.
Doom wheel.
Blow up in your face, right? Yeah. And that's a very Timmy thing, right? Because they'll risk it for the biscuit. Because sometimes it'll go wrong and they'll be like, "Oh, shucky darns, my thing exploded." Right? But at the same time, if they use the Arch Warlock thing and then he blows up and he does like 18 mortal wounds to himself and rockets himself into the stratosphere, that's also an awesome moment, right? Like to Timmy, that's amazing. Like it went against him, but it was memorable, right? So evocative things that happen from randomness that are sort of, you cannot plan, they're sort of emergent moments are a very Timmy thing, right?
I'm not sure if this is you guys, but I've always thought of Timmy as related to the social contract, because Mev, you were talking about experiences, and you know, like I really want my opponent to have a good time on the table as much as possible, and I find Timmy armies to elicit that more often than not.
Timmy players, man, like you're gonna know a Timmy player when you're playing, because they're there for the experience. You're gonna run into, not that you're not gonna run into a Timmy player on the top tables, but like if you run into a Timmy on mid or bottom tables your last day, you're gonna have a blast, because they're there for the drama and the excitement and the they like the experience of the game, and they just want to see cool stuff happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, like again, they're also the ones who, in general, they care about losing sort of the least, because that's not really what they're about. Now, that at the same time, again, everybody likes to win games. That's not saying that. It's just that like their experience isn't contingent. They're fun. Let me say it that way. Isn't their utility that they draw from playing isn't contingent on winning. Okay.
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
Okay. Cool. So that's Timmy. Like again, it's a very popular archetype. It's what a lot of us are, because this is a dad game, and you know, these make great moments, and Timmy likes to manufacture big moments. All right. Johnny, for this I've picked the Lore Seeker. Could have also picked
the Score Seeker.
The Score Seeker, yes, indeed. Yep. Johnny wants to express something about himself by playing the game. Often his cleverness or intelligence or whatever you
creativity,
want to say, his creativity,
sometimes
right? Yeah,
creativity.
something like that, right? But they're trying to express something about themselves. Like Timmy is very external looking, right? Their fun is coming from sort of the things that happen out there in the world. That's what they're drawing utility from. Johnny is very like internal looking, and what I mean by that is like Johnny wants to see his own brilliance manifest, right? They're like Bond villains, like Doctor Doom, right? They've got like plans and meta plans and stuff like that. You know, Johnny has again lots of different derivations, but Johnny likes unusual or overlooked choices and combos. Johnny loves list building and picking the exact right units. Like if you're the type of person who agonizes over the last 200 points of a list because you think that making the wrong decision in that last 200 points will be the difference between you winning and losing, you're Johnny. It's like that's the easiest self-identification, right? I actually had I had to yell at Tom about this because he gets caught in this rabbit hole, and he was going back and forth on like 150 points, and I was like, it does not matter, Tom.
They're there, Vince. The perfect 200 points are there.
Right.
So, chat was wondering what I am. I'm a Johnny with like a good dash of Timmy,
Sure.
because I want to express something. I want to, my cleverness.
Yeah.
A Johnny looks at a model or like a unit that we just like, we get fascinated with. We're like this, like we think this model is cool, or we think this war scroll does something neat, and we're like, I can make that work.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Celestin Prime, baby.
Yeah,
just
like if you've ever had this thought in your head, everybody's sleeping on this one, but I am going to show people how
I got the
really
tech.
is.
Johnny uses the word tech. It's their favorite word. Like, this is great tech. This is a good tech piece. Like,
right.
Like,
yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Right there with you, Matt. Johnny, Timmy, all the way, baby.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing is like, so for the Magic the Gathering crowd, like I loved, my deck was Natural Order, Progenitus near the end, or Survival Band, which are very Timmy style decks, but they have that big flash finish. You know, I'm Loyal Retainers for an Emrakul to win the game, or bringing out Progenitus, which is a 10/10 for 10, like Exalted, or so, just bonkers, can't be killed, can't be stopped. Like, so it's the Timmy finish with the Johnny.
I'm gonna pretend like I understood everything you just said there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
no, it makes complete sense.
Amazing.
You're Johnnying your way into the big moment, right? But you're still, that's leading the way.
Yeah.
In Warhammer terms, this is somebody who has like a very careful power pair built kind of list where they're trying to like execute on a specific strategy. If you like, there's another Johnny thing is like having exact plays that you're going to execute at certain points, right? You gravitate toward armies where the skill differential, the skill ceiling, pushes really high.
They love toolbox armies. Toolbox armies.
Yeah.
You want to have an answer for everything. Like
Benjamin Sava strikes me as a very Johnny-esque player, right? Where he's writing out beforehand all of his spellcasters, the 2 spells they have, the Lumineth big list, right? Of everybody goes in this exact order. This tries to cast this backstops this, then this, then this, then this, then this, right? That's the sort of very Johnny thing, right? He has like a Cylon. He has a plan, right? And Johnny loves it when the moment when his plan comes together, right? That's the moment, because that's the moment where his cleverness is sealed, right? It's the sort of Columbo, just one more thing. We
never stop talking about it.
Right.
When we like do the thing, it's the I told you so, I told you this work. We will jettison extra information from our minds. The payoff is in the expression. Now, Lesser talked about aspect of Johnny is the creative Johnny. Like I think it really wants to this can be the really meticulous painter. Johnny's because they're really trying to it's not just that they want to paint the cool model or the big model. They have a theme for the whole army. They're, Martin Orlando, right? Like I'm just describing Martin Orlando. Like you have like a theme for the army, and you want to when people look at it, you want to tell them like this is how this all came together, and like Johnny.
Right. Yep. Okay, so that's Johnny, and yes, as Mike Davis just said, you fell for the classic blunder. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
That's Johnny right there, right? Yes. Yeah. Okay, and then finally Spike. So Spike wants to prove something, and what Spike is usually trying to prove is that they're the best. Okay, in whatever that means. All right, like we all have got a little spike in us when we're playing a competitive game, right? It's always a little bit there because this is a game that has some kind of win condition. So unless you're playing something that's literally completely narrative and almost doesn't have a normal win, there's always a little bit of spike in all of us, right? But what spike, like traditional spikes, really like is raw power.
Yeah.
Okay. Efficient units, answers. Like, or just hard questions. Okay, like I'm going to ask hard questions that I know most people can't answer. That's a spike type of thing, right?
You're locked in here with me. Like,
right, exactly.
You're like,
yes.
Yeah.
Spike is happy to net list. That doesn't bother Spike at all. Like he doesn't. There's most spikes, unless they have a lot of Johnny in them, don't really care about they don't need to feel like they originated a thing.
The list. They don't need to figure out what the list is. Yeah, that
doesn't matter who made the list. I won with the list.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
This is on me.
Yeah.
I did this. Look at me. Look at me.
I think Spike is so Timmy being I think the most sort of stereotypical of it. I think spikes are the most misunderstood.
Agreed.
It's very important to remember that they want to prove something. Like you can like Haywo is pretty big Timmy vibes and stuff like that, but you don't realize he has a very Spike approach to ogres.
Yeah, yeah.
Like he wants to prove that like he can go 3-2 with a bad army. Like you can have a Spike like hidden elsewhere in like the standings because they they want to prove. It's about proving.
Yeah,
something.
what they want to prove is that this army's not total trash. That I can do well with this. I don't think I'm going to win the tournament, but I want to show that I can punch above average. Right. That's a win to Spike.
Yes.
Right. I can prove that I'm better than the average bear.
Right. Yes.
And Spike loves the moment when they win. When they prove whatever that thing is they're trying to prove. Win doesn't necessarily mean, when I say win, I don't necessarily mean win the game, although that can be one of the outcomes. It can just mean when they win what they perceive to be them they're trying to prove.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. They take that objective off from you in just like that big moment where they have like, it's, you know, they've grinded, they've piloted, they've grinded for this moment, and they're like, there, now you're on the back ropes, now you have to deal with me. Like Spike has that very, I don't want to say, like, they have very assertive energy. Like Spikes tend to be pretty assertive.
Sure.
And it go ahead.
No, I agree. And by the way, Jordan Blythe said BCR ain't trash. No, it's not now. It's a perfectly good list now. But Haywo spent a lot of time in the wilderness playing BCR when it had no book and was really looked down upon.
That's where the beard came in. Like that's how he grew it. Is there's out like it like in the woods.
Yes. So, but like that's just it. He stuck with it because he always, because of that Spike part of him. That's, you know, like, I'm going to prove that this army can do well, rain or shine. Right.
One description that stood out to me over the years, and this might be obvious to a lot of folks, but I really appreciate the time. I think it was Aurelian on one of your Warhammer Weekly shows years ago, where he had said that, you know, when he's going to win tournaments, he takes lists that are not going to put him on the back foot on top tables, which is kind of an obvious statement. But at the time, I was in a mindset early on and coming back to Warhammer that I didn't sufficiently appreciate that that's a psychological profile, that's a player type. Spike was, as Matt mentioned, the one that's often most misunderstood. I was misunderstanding Spike early on when I got back into Warhammer. Is one of the
nicest people you will ever play. He will help you during the game. He does not mess around. He never tries to cheat a thing from that. I don't mean like cheat in the actual game, like cheating with dice or something. I mean like he's never going to win because you didn't because you made a mistake and he just didn't mention it. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I didn't move this guy in the right way, or I didn't use this ability I should have activated. It was automatic, right? Or something like that. He'll be like, hey, you need to activate that thing.
Spike can be very, very self-critical, because if Spike's out to prove that they're the best, and there's that shadow of the doubt or insecurity in their pursuit of being the best and trying to prove that they're the best, it throws shade on that actualization.
Right. Yeah, they want you to be playing well as well because they want to beat you. I want you at your best. Right. Like, I'm going to beat you at your best. But like, Spikes aren't. That's one thing that Spikes get maligned. You're right, as often being like just whack sort of people, and that's just not actually true.
Anyone
Certainly
can be
that's
whack,
in there, but
like,
all these archetypes have negative dark sides to them, right?
That's one thing that Tom often has said that I really appreciate and experienced when we played the game at NashCon. I think it was first year at NashCon that he doesn't want to win on his opponent getting things wrong. And experience. Anyway, I really appreciate that even among some players who have that orientation, sort of that Johnny Spike, they still have that ethos. I think that's really cool. Yeah,
exactly. Like whether you're mean or nice isn't a matter of your psychographic profile. It's a matter of you being a good person or not. Right. This is this is about what you draw psychological utility from, right? And like, in other words, as it interacts with a game and a set of rules and the way that those rules play, if you draw psychological utility from the suffering of others, that has nothing to do with this. You're just a jerk, right? Like, that's nothing to do with this. You're just a bad person.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that we've set up the basics, of what all these armies are, or what all these types.
There will be a quiz, by the way, Chad. I hope you all.
There is a quiz later. Everybody get ready. You should see the form in the comments you can click on. No, just kidding.
If you're watching, Jack, I believe in you. You'll get this after the show, man.
All right. So now let's do it. Let's tier out the armies. So here I have all of the army books over to the side of the screen. And then I have a Timmy, Johnny, and a Spike. Now you'll notice that I have also created a
Ooh.
little, I don't know, middle area ground, right? Where this is the Timmy Johnny area, this is the Johnny Spike area, and this is the Spike Timmy area. Okay, so it circles back around.
Okay, yeah. So below Spike is the Spike Timmy.
Yes,
right?
correct. You got
Okay.
it. Yep. I tried to make them. They are color coded to the same colors, but it's a testament to how your eyes read this pattern, and it screws with your eyes' ability to perceive color. None of them look like the same colors.
Don't pardon the pun, but man, this is a different tier even for you with your PowerPoints. Like,
we're trying. Trying. Okay.
So what can be weird about Spike in assessing is there is a quality to the army that is predicated upon for a Spike army. So like an army that was like an army can become a Spike army. How are we dealing with that? That would be my, an army that was formerly great. Spike's not going to necessarily waste. What mentioned Haywo is like kind of an exception, but Spike's not necessarily going to waste their time on it anymore.
Yeah. So in other words, what's the criteria here, right? Because armies can fit under multiples, and so my argument is if it fits under multiples, we'll put it in the middle one that makes the most sense. We're going to talk about current state of the armies, what they are right now in time.
Perfect.
Okay. So not what they were in the past, but how they play right now as we perceive them in 3.0 in their current book state. And, we will go for the majority of how the book is, the majority of how the book would be played. If there's like one weird offshoot, you understand what I'm saying? Like if there's this little dangler element of it that's like, just, okay, I guess it could kind of be if you leaned way, way into it in a weird way. Maybe it could play like this. We're going to ignore those. We're talking about the majority.
Ignore the outliers. We're going. Yeah. We're dealing in aggregates here. All right.
Yep. All right. Cool. So let's grab an army here. Who shall we grab? Well, let's grab this one right up top. Let's grab Daughters of Cain. All right. Where are the Daughters of Cain going?
Spike.
I'm just so excited to hear this after having picked Daughters of Cain back up in 3.0.
I'd hear an argument for Spike, Johnny, but get into Spike.
Yeah, I'm with Meph here. I think Daughters is one of the spikiest Spike armies. I mean, but Marathi was literally the iconic I picked for this, right? And like Spike values efficiency. And it's one of the things Spike values, right, is efficiency and power. And like of the sort of the whole book is super efficient. Like I don't know how else to say it, right? Like it was priced so low when it came out, even after the points adjustments, it's still quite reasonable. Okay, they have like the cheapest best god monster, like pound for pound, right? Maybe like Archeon is better, but you know what I'm saying.
Archeon's definitively better, but sure. He's in his own category.
He's in his own weird category, yes. But like, they're like they rely on double tapping bow snakes. I can't think of a more spiky strategy than upping the efficiency of an already too hyper efficient units and ramping them into ultra efficiency.
Every other doc list that I saw that played over the weekend, this is a little bit of ego talking, but so forgive me, but I think I was the only one playing 10 snake bows. Every other list was 15 snake bows.
Right.
Look at way to really like rein it in there, rein in the
Thank
filth.
you. I was telling everybody.
You're a paragon of self-control.
I was telling everybody, man. I'm expecting them sports votes. Friendly doc right here.
Friendly doc.
Good guy doc player here. Just 10 snakes, not 15.
Makes all the difference.
The thing for me that really cinches DOK into Spike is the lack of a really flashy piece that would scream, that would pull it a little bit away from that efficiency or whatever.
Yeah, and again, all these books, because we're talking about something in the aggregate that can involve multiple playstyles, sometimes this will be a little gray. But to me, Daughters is like one of the spikiest of spikes right now. And somebody said, what if the points changed? Well, then the army might be different, right? But it's still, I think, a very Spike army, and it has been for almost all of its existence. We're not talking historical; we're talking right now. But like, Spike has always been the army you took if you wanted a pretty highly competitive army. Like, since its inception, it's been at like a 60% win rate. It's a Spike army.
Well, I love that the relevance at the beginning of this, that, you know, an hour ago or whatever it was, you said that like this, I mean, you can help think about the utility of what's happening right here is you can help people hopefully recognize what psychographic profile they have or lean towards while listening to us banter, and then gravitate towards these armies that you think are, you know, in line with your profile, and from there, you know, do your research, look into the armies more in depth. This is a really great jumping off point, or a good tiebreaker if you're stuck between two armies.
Agreed. That, like, the value to this is, and we'll get to it because I'm going to share my own personal experiences with some of these, but I completely agree, Meph. Like, you will have a better time in this game if you play the things that are aligned to you psychographically. Like, it just, you will find yourself having more fun, weirdly, right? So yeah.
So the ongoing modest disagreement between Vince and I on Dodgers game will have to wait to another show. I do find, and I think it's supported by data, that they are. I think you're right. Generally, they are more spiked than anything, but there's a big but. You know, like you look at JP Gannis's data, they're the one that's most oriented around, I would say, skill among many of the top armies.
Right.
That's kind of been borne out. They are a massive glass cannon. Other than Marathi, everything in that army generally dies, and it dies quickly. Sure. If you make little mistake, I mean, all of my games were close over the weekend, pretty much all of them, and there are so many micro decisions, which is probably true with a lot of armies in the game, but there are so many small decisions that if you make wrong decisions, you know, it costs you. And
so
if you
would
lose
you
a
say,
unit,
Tyler, that because of that, Doc, by playing it, allows you to prove that you're a very good player?
No, 100%, 100%.
Interesting.
I suppose.
Interesting.
Yes.
Wait, have we just figured out that Tyler's actually secretly been the Spike all along? Like Scooby-Doo, it was me,
right.
like the whole time, like he's been the Spike. And...
Yes.
Man, I backed myself into a corner.
Spike's not necessarily interested in like auto wins. Like that.
No,
that's one of those misnomers.
Right.
Like.
Yeah, that's actually probably less fun to a Spike, right? Like, there's lots of classic Spike magic cards, but it's all like efficiency. Like Spike doesn't mind.
They never want to be on the back foot,
cost.
right? Like they just never want to be on the back foot. That's
right.
a really great way of
saying
saying
they love things that are like, even if they carry a cost, they're fine with it as long as it's super good at its role. Right?
Yeah.
And like so the cost here is fragileness, but it's okay because it's super good at its role. It does that thing it does like hyper efficiently. They just need to you just minimize the penalty. Spike's like, okay, I understand the penalty, I can minimize that out. Right?
Yeah.
It's controlled.
I generally agree with that. Yeah.
All right. Next up.
Best comment in chat. Meph and Vince need to swap places so we're lined up with our chart. Like,
that's Maggotkin of Nurgle. This is going to be a fun one. Where do the Maggotkin go, my friends?
And I can make a case for basically anything, but going off of current, this might be controversial opinion coming in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to throw them in Timmy.
Okay.
I could see them being a Spike army.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to say Timmy on account of what they do is pretty overt with how they try to win the game. And the Nurgle players are pretty like traditionalist. Like Nurgle players have stuck with this ancient book. And I know we're not weighing history, but if you look at a lot of the Nurgle players currently playing the army, they're not just coming to Nurgle because of buffs and stuff like that. They have experience with this army. So for them, it is that experience. You know, they're all about that sickness. They're down with the sickness.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd say the Nurgle players that I've known over the years and the list that I've seen, especially recently, I'm not sure what the split would be, but it would be some Timmy, some Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I hadn't ever thought about Spike in the way that you guys are pointing out now. So maybe someone like me and others have been secretly a Spike and not realizing it. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Stephen Powell, in the comments for noting that as well. Appreciate that. So, for example, over the weekend there were a Guo, Great Unclean One, Glotkin, Sleppity Bile Piper, Spoilpox Scrivener, 3x10 Plague Bears, 3x3 Plague Drones. And I look at that, I'm like, what's going on here? Then dig a little bit. Oh, this is a combo army.
Yep.
Combo, +1 attack, +1 attack, +1 attack, etc. And it performed really well. It took out my friend Dan, his Archeon, quite quickly, just a bucket of mortal wounds coming his way. So that seemed to me a little bit like Johnny with that Nurgle list.
All right, here's my argument. I think current Nurgle, as it exists right now, is the most Timmy Johnny 50-50 split. Let me see if I can defend that.
Okay. Yeah. No, I dig it.
I think you said the magic word there. It's a wombo combo army. Johnny's the classic combo player, by the way, in Magic. That's like their thing. That's sort of that's overstated. Not every Johnny is actually a combo player, but that's kind of there. Just like Spike gets labeled as being the whack player, Johnny gets labeled as being the combo player.
The 2-card combos too, by the way, like chef's kiss. Like go ahead.
So, but like they absolutely do rely on wombo combos, right? Especially now in their current world, right? There's lots of like, oh, this Slobody does this, and this guy does this buff, and the Guo does this thing. They've been like that in the entirety of their existence, but they definitely like it now.
Yeah.
They do have fun big things, right? So like the Timmy parts of the army to me are like the big Puscoil Blight Lords or Plague Drones or a Guo or something like that, and souping them up and having them go do something, right? Or just like, by the way, another very Timmy thing isn't always on offense. It can also be on D. Right. Like, come at me, bro. Right? I want to experience that I can take your whole army and my fat boy will still be standing here. So the Guo is sitting there being like, bang, 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 and just nothing hurting him, and he walks away and he's like, is that the best you've got?
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah. They're riding home in the car ride, telling you about all the things that couldn't kill their Guo.
Exactly. That's a super Timmy thing, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's this sort of combo-ish, control-ish type of thing. It also is an army that frequently has like control-ish elements to it: negatives to hit, negatives to wound, lots of things like penalties, worsening rend, and it relies on this sort of like combo play. That the reason I say it's almost perfectly Timmy Johnny is because it's kind of like your story you were talking about with your Magic deck, Meth, where you were using Johnny-ish aspects to set up a Timmy
payoff.
Payoff.
Yeah.
I think Nurgle plays a lot in the same way, right? Where it uses these combos to defend often and then counterpunch in a Timmy way, right? Like I move my anvils of penalty dudes and stop you from piling in and stuff like that. I'm using these control-esque elements and combos. Or maybe it's I use them to slingshot people and buff them and run people in, but then I sort of also have this Timmy win con of a bunch of dudes who are hyper buffed running in and exploding all over you, right? So my argument would be it's probably one of the most pure splits between those two, right? It's never had, I mean, other than like Blight Kings being super efficient, I wouldn't call the army known for its efficiency, right? Or anything like that, like known for its power. It's always been good, but it's never been great, right? It's always been this sort of, if you can put the pieces together in the right way, pick the right units, buff each other, and then deliver, you can have these big booms. That's my argument. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I firmly believe it's Timmy, like in terms of, because the experience aspect of it, like Nurgle players, they want to play Nurgle.
Yeah.
There's some spike in there that like Blight Kings are getting really good. People on tabletop simulators start bringing out the Blight King spam, but they weren't there for Nurgle. You know, they were there to win.
Right.
Which again, if we're talking about the army and not the player,
right?
For me, it's the experience. Like the experience is really what sells it as that.
So can we go Johnny Timmy? Are we okay with that? Are we okay with that?
I think so. I am like my main takeaway so far in the show is this difference between Johnny wants to express something, often cleverness, versus Spike wants to prove something.
Right.
Often they're the best, not necessarily, but and in that regard, you know, I need to talk to my friend Jeff. He's the one I'm most familiar with. Who's played Jeff Nauman, the TO of Siege World. Jeff has stuck with Nurgle for forever. He's played it ever since I've known him the last 6 years, and I suspect part of that is he's wanting to prove how good of a player he is. He's a very good player. And he plays Nurgle better than anyone else that I know of, that I've played against. So I do wonder how many Nurgle players have that quality to them.
Yeah.
But
it's interesting. And so just Brandon S said, maybe I'm thinking of Timmy the wrong way, but I get almost no utility from it because they're so poor at killing stuff. To me, it's a Johnny Spike. I get that. There are builds of Nurgle that can kill stuff really effectively that do like explosive amounts of damage. But like that just means you're a particular type of Timmy, often as I am, where the offense is what's fun to you. As I said, Timmy can express in lots of different ways, right? Timmy can also be, I can withstand everything. I can create a cool moment where you attack me with like your whole army and it just bounces. And I'm like, yeah, bring it. You know, that kind of thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and put him up here. I'm gonna put him in this little space here.
Yeah.
I
respect it. I respect it.
Right on. Okay. Cool beans. Flesh Eater Courts.
Man, this one's had a run, hasn't it? I mean,
go ahead.
Most of the death armies. I mean, I don't know if I want to give it away. But it's a Johnny army. Okay. It's at peak Gristlegore, sure, but we're not talking about past. Sure. But you're looking at an army similar to. Right now, it's in a weird state, but you're looking at an army similar to Nurgle, where like getting the like you're usually Flesh Eater Courts lists are very modular. They're very different player to player. They tend to be like you know, am I taking Feast Day? Am I taking this like the Grand Illusions? They're playing with big stuff, so like they've got that Timmy in them. But when it gets right down to it, like it's those the interplay of the summoning and the command abilities and like really the table play that separates like sort of like the true FEC players from people who are just sort of passing through town the last couple iterations of the army.
Okay.
It's not quite a full toolbox, but like as far as the death armies went for a spell there, it was like our most complete army.
So why do you think it's a Johnny? I'm not quite understanding.
I think it's a Johnny because the interplay of how you actually build the list. Like it's a very, very meticulous list build. It's a very like it's a thinking man's army. Like you really like build a. It starts at like the Johnny experience with Flesh Eater Courts begins at the list building. Well, the Johnny experience begins at list building, but this is a list builder's army. You've got to like you're looking at the little levers you're pulling with how you're setting it up. Arch Regent is like actually like the super Johnny Spike piece, but like it's but like efficient at what it does traditionally, and just what it's bringing to the table. Like you're like this goes in every list because it just turns on this stuff.
Yeah, I'm sensitive to what you're saying, and I think I'm going to agree with you when we come to a later army, in death. But I got to tell you, man, this thing to me, Flesh Eater Courts in its current incarnation, is like Timmy Spike all the way.
Yeah?
Yeah, like it's like I can make my army.
It wins with dragons.
It wins with big giant dragons that
like,
go in and pile in twice and mortal. And like, oh, I rolled 4 6s, 24 mortal wounds. Is there a more Timmy experience path to victory, right? But at the same time, like it's less Spike now than it used to be. Like it's drifted towards just being Timmy. Like Spike has kind of lost interest in it as
that's fair.
Kind of gotten
yeah. No, this is fair.
Right, but it's still in that space. Right, like to me, its identity is a Timmy Spike army. It wants to use big monsters and big attacks and big hits, or just even like big packs of ghouls buffed up with like 5-6 attacks.
I'm trying I'm trying so hard not to use the past on this army because of like it is unquestionably when you're talking about like Gristlegore, Arch Regent, even like 30 ghouls do work.
Sure.
Man, like
super buff. Smash
like,
Bat.
Smash Bat can smash that. Like they get this like hidden efficiency in that army. That's why I lean on the Johnny axiom because I don't think it does it. With the exception of 2 pieces, that army needs to work together to get the big hits. With the but the most Spike piece or the biggest the reason you're playing the army is basically one of the most Spike Timmy pieces in the game, which is a terror. Just
like the guy the question you can't answer, right? Like the Kumquat, the Ghoul King on Terrorgeist is just like
Yeah.
he is what he is. He's like, I'm gonna throw this thing at you. I'm gonna give you a question that
Yeah.
you have no answer to because here comes 24
Yeah.
mortal wounds. And
Yeah,
you just gotta like deal with that, man.
Well, what's awesome about playing that army is you're like, what's my out? Oh yeah, can this kill it? Like, and you're just
Right.
every problem, you are a hammer and everything looks like a nail. And you're
Correct.
just gonna see
Yeah,
if roll
you brought a
sixes.
bag of hammers to the fight, right? And it's just like we're gonna
Yeah.
see what happens here.
Yeah.
You open up your toolbox. Oh, look, it's all hammers, just all the way down. So
Yeah.
that's weird. You know.
So I've had some interesting experiences against Flesh Eater Course players. I played one over the weekend. Awesome guy, Shannon. He was dressed to the nines. He had a Flesh Eater Quartz pen. He was really leaning into the narrative of the army, an incredibly painted army, great display board. But I was getting immediately the sense that this is a very detail-oriented kind of Johnny, what I would think of in my head, which again, I'm learning may be wrong in terms of my conceptions of these things going into tonight. Johnny type guy, but he was a very meticulous player.
Mhm.
You know, just about every choice Shannon made in our game was the right choice. He made more better choices than I did.
Gotcha.
I gave him first. He had 2 Terrorgeist and a Ghoul King on Terrorgeist. You know, he did the Spectral Host. He got the 10 that he needed to get all 3 running and charging. I wasn't thinking about you could get all 3 in. I left him like 10-inch charges. He hit, even with the redeploy on one piece, he hit those charges. I had the 3 in my face immediately. Almost lost the 10 snake bows because of that. But they're like, he was just so meticulous,
Yeah, sure.
his summoning choices.
Yeah,
His
and like
spell
clearly that
choices.
guy's a Johnny
You're describing
player.
a pure Johnny. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're describing
and, like,
a pure Johnny player.
Okay.
And I think that's where you can find these elements in these armies, right? Like it's not to
Yeah.
say that you can't, that some of these things, again, that's what I talked about. Like you can have these alternate builds, you can express your thing because we're seeding these to where they best fit. That doesn't mean it's where they only fit.
Right, and you can
Sure.
have a very Spike Flesh Eater Quartz player, or a very Timmy Flesh Eater Quartz player, right? Your Timmy Flesh Eater Quartz player might
Sure.
only have one back of ghouls and then just oops all dragons, right? Like,
Right.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
And so what we're saying is, what's the sort of definitive play style of this? That this psychology of players, right? This psychographic profile is going to be the most attracted to it. Not only most, right? So like OPT said, are we judging the army or the player that would pick the army? We're judging.
we're trying to do the army.
Yeah, the army itself, and then the types of players it's going to majority attract, right? So what's the sort of majority identity?
You want to weighted toward the army itself, but
Right.
with due observation of the types of players that are going to gravitate toward it, because that's
Right.
relevant information.
Right, like really this is a human descriptor, not an army descriptor, but it's a fun way to try to marry this together. Like,
Right.
there you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see. I mean, I can't get off the Johnny, and I certainly can't say it's not a Timmy army. It's winning with big packs of ghouls and dragons. You know, like, but like, in a former life, I'd have said it's all 3. Like, it was just, which is why it was such a problematic army, because everybody would in fact play Old Gristlegore. Who doesn't
Yeah.
want to win with a huge sweet dragon? Especially if it's the most efficient monster in the game, especially yada. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it was just.
Here's the thing, I'm making the call. We're going
Okay.
Spike Timmy
All right.
on this guy.
All right. All right. I'll let you. All right. This isn't my battle. This isn't my fight.
Right, yeah, that's fine. Okay. Mainly so we're not here till 2 a.m.
Yeah.
By the
Yeah.
way, if you
Sure.
like this sort of show, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. We discuss fun things like this sometimes. I like these types of shows because they're super
This is
fun.
great. This is perfect.
Okay. Next up, let's get out them gits. Gloom Spite gits.
I will defer to the wisdom of the chat.
Oh, what does everybody think the Gloom Spite gits is going to be? Tyler, you got a thought on this?
Yeah, I mean, they certainly strike me as a combo type army. At least certainly when I think of Gits when the Battle Tome came out, I think of a player like Richie, which has play series. Richie was doing incredibly well with Gits, and leaning into endless spells, leaning into combos, surprising people, negative debuffs all over the place. Pretty meticulous. Richie is an incredibly meticulous player. Again, I'm talking more about a player rather than an army.
Oh,
but,
it's a good way for you to interface with the problem. Like,
yeah,
keep leaning
yeah.
into it. Yeah.
So, but I would traditionally think of them as a Johnny type army. And then certainly some Timmy qualities with
Yeah.
Troggoths, and you just all the freaking all the randomness that can take place with the army, those
Sure.
squigs and mangler squigs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think this is like a clear cut like Timmy Johnny like situation for me.
Agreed.
Mm.
I completely agree. I don't think we're going to have much argument on this one. It's such a clear Timmy Johnny, right? Depending on how you sort of express the army, because like if you're sort of if you're like a Mazda Jork player or a Trog player, you're leaning into the Timmy expression of this army. If you're more on the Git side or the mixed army,
Counting
you're
up your
leaning more on the
netters,
Johnny
like
side.
you're
Yeah, exactly like
Right.
placing your netters, trying to get this thing. Then you move and you pull the moon and you hold it in place, and it's like,
yeah.
you know, it just to me feels right like it belongs right here next to Nurgle in this sort of Timmy Johnny space, right? Like that's where it's living, right?
Yeah.
I think that one's very clear cut. Now again, it could, depending on how you choose to express it, and that's true for a lot of these, it could go up or down.
Yeah.
Right. The super more Gits players who were like the people who were manipulating and spamming endless spells, they were falling way down all the way into the Johnny area.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The people
Right.
who are running pure Trog herd, they're all the way up here in Timmy. Right. So like again, armies can have multiple expressions, but
Yeah, Nathan from Honest Wargamer is a pure Timmy. Like this man was throwing in like the old Gargant War Scroll. I can't remember what it's called. He was throwing in the Gargant.
Oh
War
yeah,
Scroll.
the regular.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and if you're playing spiders, you're over here, and I need a new tier just called Insane Person.
Shout outs to Paul from Immortal Realms.
That's right.
podcast.
Yeah, take that, Paul. No, absolutely. All right, cool. Next up, let's grab a slam dunk Rooney for the next one, shall we? Or is it? Let's grab the Sons of Behemoth. Where are the Sons of Behemoth in the big giants in their current incarnation?
Tyler, you want to go
Where are the
first, or
sons?
see if you're really grasping these concepts?
I'm getting put on the spot again. Let's see. Oh my goodness, I find this to be a tougher one. Yeah, let's see. I mean, the initial take is Timmy. Now that wasn't exactly the feeling I was getting from the battle tome. The way that they play on the table, in my experience, leads to my friends talking about bonking everything that they can, just bonking crap off the table, and that's all that they talk about. So that's very Timmy to me. I'll go with the smooth brain of more Timmy than anything.
Okay, Meth, what do you think?
The Johnny and me hurts because I know table wise, it feels like Johnny Army. It plays like a Johnny Army in terms of just table play. I want to say Johnny Spike, but like the players playing this army are Timmys and Spikes right now. It's just it's Timmy Spike.
Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
I completely agree. This is part of my problem with the book. It has a sort of personality crisis, right? And that it thinks it's a Johnny army, but it's not. It's a Timmy Spike army.
Yeah.
Right? Like that, especially now in 3.0, like it fell way into the spikes because it became like hyper efficient for everything you could pack in with your battle line monster hero.
35 wounds in one spot,
Swedish
like
steam
that.
cookers,
like,
you know.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I played a game of this on Saturday with the new things. I actually got a couple games in on Saturday, and you know the people who were on the other side of the table were like, "Hey man, this doesn't feel very good." And I was like, it's funny to me because to me the army feels so fragile because I just watch the wounds falling off the giants and like they're just gonna drop any second, you know. But to the opponent, it's like, no, you had 4 things on the table. You now have 4 things on the table. The dice sitting beside the guy isn't relevant.
Yeah.
Right.
Brent here in chat has a fantastic take. It's not Johnny and list building.
Yeah, 100%. That's one of the things. That's what I'm saying. It stops it. It wants to play like a Johnny army, but it's not a Johnny army. It's definitely not Johnny list building, right? It's like there's
not enough
5
pieces.
lists.
There's not enough questions to ask myself.
Right.
If I'm not agonizing over the last 200 points, it's not a Johnny list.
No, it's just like,
do
you run the 1 of each and the 3 babies, or do you double up on something to like 2 takers? Like, these are the only questions you're asking right now, right?
Yeah, which one do you put the book on, and which one do you put the amulet on?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
And the answer is the amulet on the general taker and the book on the breaker, so he can flaming weapon or mystic shield himself.
See, all the equations are solved for Johnny.
Right. There's
Next.
nothing. It's just exactly. There's no tech to it. Like, of course you give the breaker the book, because then before he gets himself into combat, he walks himself in with a mystic shield, and then the round before he goes in and fights, he flaming weapons his gatebreaker flail, and now he has a 4 damage neg 3 rend weapon, and he just destroys anything he touches. Like, it's
as the pure Johnny, I should probably start using this as my own internal tiebreaker. Do I have an interest in even playing the army? You know, like you can get me with the Timmy appeal sometimes, but like if the Timmy appeal is not strong enough with this army, because it's not like sweet dragons or undead or monsters and stuff.
right. I will say,
and the Johnny there, I'm just like,
right.
You know,
Yeah. I mean, I will say I beat this army into a more Timmy army by always running Stomper Tribe, where I get to do the big damage that I want against some of the enemy units, right? So, like, I'm purposely playing one of the worst versions of the thing because it plays the way I want it to.
Right.
So,
yeah.
so I'm determined.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do a fun one here for one of our players in this chat. Here they are. Let's get them out. Bum, 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 bum. It's Sylvaneth time. That's right.
All right.
Yeah.
The trees. Where will the trees fall? What of these 3 areas could the trees possibly fall into? Tyler. Sylvaneth.
Should I be nice to you this time, Tyler? Like,
why don't you start?
I'll start.
Okay.
I'm having some self-realization tonight.
Sure, yeah.
you gotta digest that. You gotta process.
This is a real
still
revelatory
processing it.
stream. Epiphanies are happening. Go ahead, Meth. What do you think?
So I think it's actually pretty Johnny. Like it's pretty like textbook Johnny. It's got some gas right now with the addition.
Sure.
But I mean, you're not playing this army because pure efficiency. Your beautiful mind when you're playing this army, you're just seeing the numbers, and so
you're trying to like move buffs, express your power in exactly the right place, poop trees around the board exactly right to block movement, or to get line of sight blocking when you need to, and this is going to be this thing over here that does exactly the right number of mortal wounds, and then the Warsong Revenant moves into position to use the Throne of Vines, and then set up the spell portal for next round, so I can then go toot 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 and just blow up a whole portion of the board. And it's like
even some of the stuff you're doing on the table is just like the most Johnny, like stashing a thing in the corner to like just in the corner of the table and still like
here comes them tree revs. They're sneaking in out of nowhere to steal your crap.
Yeah.
Like it's trending a little spike certainly. Here, I'll slide it to the bottom of the thing. We'll make these positional. Like we'll put this girl right in the middle because she's so pure spike. But I'll slide him toward the bottom because I agree with some people in the chat that like it's sliding a little spikier. They've got some game and they've got some efficiency in the new one. They have a lot of 3+ save monsters and they still have reroll saves packed into some stuff, so they can get there.
Yeah, with the change to the Truelord Ancient's command ability, which it appears that you're allowed to still beacon that out from Kurnoth, so you could potentially be given out essentially 2+ save in multiple places of the board, or your Kurnoth always at a 3+ or 2+, stacking multiple times against Rends, blah, blah, blah. The whole, Spike wanting to prove something, I mean, they're definitely, like, that's the thing about Spike I've learned tonight that I do resonate with, that I didn't understand. Like, certainly I would love to play Sylvaneth right now to prove how badass they are.
Right, no, I mean, that's a very Spike mentality when you were like, no man, this book's got gas, this book's like, and you're just absolutely, I'm going to find the list, I'm going to prove it works.
I mean, Tyler, what you've learned tonight about you is that you're a Johnny Spike, right? And you're a little more
Johnny
Spike than
apparently.
you thought you were, and that's why Sylvaneth fits in so well, because you want to prove something but also express something at the same time, right? And
absolutely.
You want to express that you're clever and prove that Sylvaneth can win piloted by you. Right.
Yeah, Dave, I'll never forget Dave Griffin came over to one of the games at NashCon. It's like, you always looked like you were so stressed out playing your turns, playing Sylvaneth. Guys, that's true. You were constantly stressed out because as Sean experienced in our first game, Doc, against Legion of the First Prince, I'm constantly just talking to myself, doing what you just exactly did. You're just talking out your turn and all the different 100 variables that you have in front of you, and you're trying to do it quickly so you can make decisions in a timely manner, and it's nonstop, and it's amazing, and everybody should play that army, except take away the tree pooping. Nobody needs that. This whole nonsense of blocking up giants by surrounding them with 3 trees. Get that crap out of here.
Sure.
Okay.
No, keep it in. Giants get no pity from me this edition. I had a little bit of pity for them last edition.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I love Sons of Bahamut.
Sure.
I like litmus test armies.
If I was gonna, the OPT says do something, express something, prove something. I would say experience something, express something, prove something. But sure, like that's how I would frame it.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool beans. Beasts o chaos. Other than masochistic, which isn't one of the ones.
Well,
on
this
list.
is where you need a fourth. This is where you got the third for insane, and you've got the fourth where it's just like the Kill Bill speech. Like, this is me at my most masochistic. Like,
Right.
I'm just like I am just enjoying. So I know this might be an unpopular on, but they're Johnny Spike, if not pure Spike, depending sometimes.
Wow.
They
Wow.
might not be relevant, like in terms of like the meta, but the way this army plays, it's all about abusing the things that they do great, which is their need for speed, their summoning, speed bumps. Like, you are just like you're just the abuse, and the people left on it are absolutely trying to prove that they can win with Beasts of Chaos.
It's a good point. The only people who are playing this at this point are like so spiky because they will prove that this army can do it, right? Like Joel in Australia, right? Yeah.
It's got a little bit of everything, because like there's that like you just want to run all your goats and bulls across the table and blow stuff up, but that's not how the army plays. It's a little bit of like that identity crisis thing that Gargants get. It doesn't play like that. You're playing a very aggressive.
So do you think they're Johnny Spike or pure Spike?
I think they're Johnny Spike right now. You know, if they got some war scroll
yeah.
changes, they got like I could see them hear a case for them being pure Spike, but I think they're Johnny Spike because you're just the way you're playing the game. It's abusing efficiency at what they do, which is but you have to like do that sort of Fibonacci sequence style play.
Sure, and I think that the Johnny element gets expressed in like a lot of the really powerful lists have been these kind of huge wounds board control lists, right? Spread and control. Like, that itself is this very sort of Johnny thing, right?
Yeah.
And
I play them, so obviously.
Sean says 18 Enlighten and go.
That's the thing is like I think you're going to see a few spikes really eking out some stuff with this, because Chaos Enlightened on disc are good, actually. Like, they're very efficient again. And the problem is like real Beast of Chaos players like me, men of taste, we don't want to play that Zangor crap. I mean, I will, because like I'll take like 6 of them.
You want Ungor and Bestigor, sure.
Yeah.
Right.
New sculpts for our Bulgors. Let's go.
Huge difference between 10 snake bows and 15 meth. That's what I'm hearing. Huge
That's
difference.
right. No,
just my 6-pack of I'm still a proper Beast of Chaos. I just have 6 Enlightened. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Just one missile.
I agree. It's Johnny Spike. It's the prove something aspect of Spike, not the I must win aspect of Spike, right? Because again, that's too reductive, right? It absolutely is trying to express the creativity of the person playing it, the cleverness of the person playing it, and prove that they can win, right? 100% in its current form. That's what it's going to attract. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, let's keep going.
I love that we're getting our chops busted for the 10 and 6.
Yeah, exactly.
We deserve it.
All right. Night Haunt. Let's do another Death Army here. Where are them ghosts at? Where my ghosts at?
So this one's got a little bit of a schismatic problem going on.
Okay.
Because the players I know that are devout Night Haunt players are very Timmy. But the army's pretty Johnny, I think, in terms of how it plays.
I always found this to be the most quintessential Johnny army in my head.
Yeah.
And that's why I always found it. It was the one army I really wanted to collect and almost pulled the trigger on a commission when the Battle Tome came out. And it's really kept that up. MSU and the kind of players that I've seen do well with it, like Ash McEwen, with his MSU builds that he played. And just very, very Johnny to me.
Yeah, it's a very Johnny. I agree with the Johnny take. I think it's pretty firmly Johnny. Not quite a Johnny Timmy, but I'd put it at the top side of Johnny.
Yep, I agree with that. I completely agree with that take. Yes, it's all these like very like you have to make a lot of choices in list building. It like lives and dies in the list building phase, and exactly like mastering these little buff circles and having everybody just in range of everything, where you've got the right penalty and I've got the right bonuses, and my chain ghast is here and my chain rasps are here and my this is that, and so on and so forth.
It is the most what do I do with the last 200 points an army can get? Like, what are the 200 points that are going to make this list?
Yeah, I mean, Tom playing Night Haunt is really expressive
pretty big indicator
of why he loved this, right?
Yeah.
Because he wanted to express just like his creativity with list building. Look what I can do with hex rays. Look what I can do with the Black Coach. Look at how I'll combo these things together and you won't see it coming, right?
Yeah.
When 27 inches away, I cross the board and charge you and pin your unit, right?
Yeah, these double, even the double like Black Coach lists that are rolling around right now are like, that's a pretty, it seems flashy in Timmy, and it's got that, but it's a very Johnny. Like, you're like, I want to guarantee that like the combo works, that it get one of them levels up and I get to do the thing.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I agree. It drifts a little Timmy, but it still sits firmly in the Johnny space. I'm with you. Yep. Like, it's not, again, even when I put him here, that's why I am going to stack him, sort of in their areas, because he's close. He's close, but it's still sitting in Johnny.
Yeah.
All right. Rock and roll. Let's see. Who shall we grab next? Let's grab these guys right here. Idoneth Deepkin IDK. Where are they going?
Didn't we give this one away? Yeah, it's Spike.
It's
like it has that problem with that Gargants have, where like there's really not a lot of Johnny in the list building.
Right.
Like,
there's more now, but historically there hasn't been.
Yeah, trying to make 2 turtle lists work is like the most.
The Reavers.
I feel engaged with it right now.
Sure.
Like, but
yeah. I'm gonna say it's Spike up here at the top, where it's like again, it's like 20% Johnny, right? In how you kind of build out the list and the pieces that you've got, but it's sitting in Spike.
And the high tide thing is cool. Like, it's just a pretty, I feel like a combo player really likes the setting up the right turn to do the thing, right? Like,
Idoneth Spikekin from Bartek. Yeah, I like that. I think Idoneth, it's got
Spikekin.
Yeah, there you go. It's got elements that Timmy should love in like the big turtle and stuff like that, right? But that's not how it actually plays out. Like, those units don't do those things.
Right. Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, like, I'm sure Timmy loves the turn 3, old school thing, but again, we're talking current version, right? Not the old school spam a million attacks. But like, it is and always has been one of the most pure Spike books, right? Like,
I feel like it's kind of passed the torch to Gargants, not in terms of like Spike, but in terms of like what it means for the meta. Like, you just had that all of 2.0 was just this gatekeeper litmus test. Can you deal with eels charging you on turn 3? Yes, no.
Yeah.
And right now you kind of have that going on with Gargants, is like, can you drop 2 Gargants quickly, or can you take 2 Gargants off objectives?
Right.
Like, and you're kind of so it's really cool the way that. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Nope, I completely agree. T. Sarathi says it should be a Timmy army because of sharks, turtles, and eels, but it just doesn't feel that way. Yeah, and the Eidolon.
It really doesn't. In my opinion,
and I think it shows with the Timmy players that buy in, thinking they're getting a Timmy experience, and like they have that like buyer's remorse with it. You saw a lot of Timmy pick up the army, and like it doesn't quite jive with them because they wanted that. It doesn't go Timmy enough. Yeah.
Right.
Fair enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree. It just doesn't give you the visceral experience.
Yeah, it's at least in the best place that it's been, and I mean, we'll probably be getting a new battle tome relatively soon, one would think, because it's one of the oldest. But I mean, pretty much everything in that book, other than the usual Lotan or whatnot, is playable right now. It's all pretty good. Turtles are insanely good. Sharks, Reavers. Yeah.
I'd take a Lotan with some Reavers.
Yeah. That'd be a bad idea. Reavers are hot right now. Yeah.
Alan K says Deepkin is the Merfolk blue tempo of AOS.
Oh, the most Spike ever.
The most Spike ever. I love it.
With the underground seas, even though you're only bringing black in from the sideboard.
Sure.
Ugh, I hate it. Oh, the worst deck. Sorry.
All right. Nope. Now let's do a fun one. Everybody, 'cause I think this one's going to be real fast.
You should apologize for that, everybody. I'm right there with you. I have no idea.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Every
week-
magic reference, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
the magic reference. I'm sorry. I have like PTSD flashbacks. That freaking Merfolk.
It's all right. It's all right. Here we go.
Sorry.
This will be a fun one. We ready?
Yeah.
Blades of Corn.
Okay.
It's Timmy, Johnny.
Why Timmy?
Is it Timmy?
Okay.
Notice how the only thing we pushed you to defend there was the Timmy part. Is the Timmy part
Johnny all
what
the
you
day.
want, or the Timmy part what it is?
Well, see, because it's not Timmy. Like the great disharmony of Corn armies is it's similar with the IDK stuff. Is like you have a lot of very Timmy players buy into Corn, and it doesn't play Timmy. But they love Corn so much they don't care about the disharmony, so they stick with it anyway and play it wrong. So it's Johnny. There. Thank you.
Yeah,
I couldn't defend my position because the more I thought about it, I'm like, no, like Bloodthirsters, you want them to be Timmy. But then like you've got like the stacking, Venn diagram buffs and
I mean, part of this, at least in my mind, what's gone is I'm thinking of my experience, which is mostly event players, tournament players, crazy folks like us who are thinking about this all the time, like Konstantinos on Coach's show, where Konstantinos knows everything about Corn. I mean, the man is Johnny hardcore, and he's also out to prove some things with what you can do with Corn. And a lot of the Corn players I know are, but is that like most of the player base? There's sort of the more casual player base.
Yeah, I think we got to, again, go back to what is the book doing right now, not what we want the book to do. So it's probably sitting right now in Johnny Spike. Like, I think it's drifted down into Johnny Spike with the current edition. I do think of it as a very pure Johnny army. A lot of builds, a lot of tinkering you can do with it. I mean, right now you're, getting the right seasoning of Bloodthirsters. If you're bringing Archeon for like some cheekiness, like I think it's pretty firmly Johnny. But I'd hear an argument for like smack in the middle of Johnny and Spike.
Here's what I'm going to argue. Okay. I think it sits smack in the middle of Johnny, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because it does go a little Timmy sometimes with the Bloodthirsters or stuff like that, and it does go a little Spike sometimes with the way you want to play it with Archeon and things like that. Like, there are expressions of the army that want to reach into those other categories, but they're both the minor reaches of it. The core of the army right now is a finesse army, right? That plays off of properly utilizing and trading. Like, it's not only maintaining the buff auras, because we talked about that ad nauseum, right? How everything
for like 2 editions now.
Very clear, clever, specific, this ballet of buff auras. But that's not actually how you win with the army. How you win with the army is this extremely careful Johnny-like play of you're executing your combos and trading exactly the right stuff to have your stuff into position at the right moment to execute the blood tithe, to then move or charge or fight when out of sequence when you wouldn't expect to. And like, it is because of the nature of how blood tithe itself works, it just seats it right hard into Johnny, because blood tithe itself being this out of sequencing play that can just be like, boom, and I got you.
Yep.
No.
Right? It's this chess move thing sitting in the middle of a blood army, right? That's just like, it really is. It's the Columbo moment where you're like, where your opponent thinks they're fine, and then all of a sudden you're like, just one more thing.
Yeah, hero phase. Hero phase. Gotcha.
Yeah, hero phase charge. There you go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. No, it's...
So again, it's not that it doesn't have those elements that reach into the other two. I think it reaches up and down in equal proportion.
Yeah.
Okay. But like, it's sitting there holding. Do you see those things on Facebook of those dudes who like have just incredible upper body strength and will like grip a pole and turn themselves sideways? You know what I'm talking about? These dudes who can do like like this kind of thing. Yeah. That's Blades of Corn. They're just gripping the pole in Johnny, and like, sure, they can like reach up into Timmy or down into Spike, but they're just like, we're here.
Right,
I can hold myself completely sideways in this thing.
Yeah, the Doc King here deciding exactly which 6 heroes to bring is super Johnny.
100%, yeah. Like, what are the exact heroes I want, and what's the exact way they're going to buff, and I'm going to play them, and yada, 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 yada.
I hope my externalizing my thought pattern really helped illustrate.
No, it was good.
The how it ends up, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, let's keep going. All right. Auric war clans.
Oh yeah.
I think Tyler can take this one.
Well,
Again, you know, it's one of those. Apparently, I've been a fake Timmy player all of my life. Definitely Johnny player. So I mean, yeah. Well, I'm kind of saying that half jokingly. There's certainly a hardcore element of Timmy. Like I've had the best time just having fun with this army. I'm playing this army, but a little bit of spike because I'm playing in a part. I'm speaking for me personally here. That I do like the challenge of trying to do well with Iron Jaws. I find that intriguing.
Sure.
All these
Sure.
little micro decisions like. Without going into a lot of the details, but the various command abilities, Iron Sense command ability, Blood Tooth command ability, all of that's fascinating. Looking at a set of combos, I've probably have found it to be a little bit of all three, I suppose. But I mean, on the 10, it's much better at being a Timmy than the vast majority of battle tomes.
Yeah, it's gone spike at times based on its efficiency. It can go
the
Johnny
casino
in some of the
casino
builds.
wall era was like pretty spike.
But at the same time, it's a Timmy army. When you look at the personality of the army and how it wants you to play, when you look at the very nature of like Big Wah and what it is, like Big Wah might as well just read down the line, do a bunch of cool stuff and get bigger bonuses.
Yeah.
Get big. Like if you look back at my description of what the most repeated word in the Timmy description was the word big, and they have a thing called Big Wah. Like I don't know what else to do here, folks.
See, I want to make a case for it being a Timmy Johnny and not pure Timmy.
Okay.
Because it has it's very easy to play it pure Timmy, and on the 10 you'll have fun and stuff like that. The great players have to have some Johnny in them to set up the perfect, the perfect combo. The
100%.
Like,
that's what's absolutely fascinating.
It's a very, it tricks you, but it's like a heavyweight boxer, where just coming and slugging, but the great boxers know when to slug.
Yeah.
There's incredible depth to it. Like running, I mean, it doesn't feel very Cabbage-like or Iron Jaws-like to run your Maw Crushes away into a corner, but you're setting up your 24-inch move with a charge.
Big.
Or there's all of these decisions that this army elicits in terms of detailed play. It's amazing.
On the 10 you get big, but then you open up and you're like, wait, I can mix this tin that says big with this tin and get huge, that's the Johnny. Like it's like, I think it's the quintessential actually Psych Johnny Timmy army. But
I'm gonna put it mostly in Timmy, but I'm gonna let it toe into the Timmy Johnny.
Okay. All right.
Because I think to me it's like 30% Johnny, but it's not on the 50-50 line that it belongs on.
Got it.
In there. Right.
All right.
Does that seem fair?
No. I like it.
Okay.
I dig it. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Very good. It's funny for a Timmy game. There's not a lot of pure Timmy armies. It's pretty funny.
My buddy who plays Big Wall all the time is definitely a maestro, and he seems like a Timmy Johnny. Oh yeah. Andrew Yells is a ranked chess player.
Sure.
He wants to play he thinks his perspective is that Orc War Clans is like the most chess moment type.
Yeah.
But while also being the most quintessentially Warhammer army. It's why he loves this army. It's like you can just yeah.
Yep,
yeah,
gotcha.
That's great. Yeah, well said.
All right, let's grab our Caradron overlords here. All right, K-O. All right, so Caradron overlords. I'll start this time. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I haven't started very much.
You've been doing a great hosting. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
it's time to get in the guts.
I can't put this all on YouTube. Caradron Overlords sits right in the Johnny Spike area. It always has, it always will. The fundamental nature of the army is pure Johnny Spike. It relies on extremely techy list building, overlapping buffs, careful executions, burning your gold at the right time, use your triumphs exactly in the ways you would need. It doesn't have the firepower to lift the enemy army or something like that. But it uses power projection to its advantage, and you have to apply that power in exactly the right place. And when that power is applied in the right place, it is spiky as all spike, because you cripple them before they ever get to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
Right? It is one of the reasons people hate this army, is because it will combo off and cripple them, and then they'll feel like they're fighting with one arm tied behind their back for the entire game against this teleporting, shooting, nonsense. But when you look at their actual numbers, they're not great. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you look at the numbers of this army, like what they shoot on, what they hit on, what they wound on, the amount of damage they do, it feels moderate at best. But when applied to the things you care about, it's enough.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so that's why my argument is the most quintessential Johnny Spike. And again, which is why it's like Tom's penultimate army.
Yeah.
Not ultimate, penultimate army, because he is very Johnny Spike. And this army just speaks to him completely, right? And what he's angry about right now is that it's not Spike enough.
Spike enough, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. No, I piggybacking off of what you said, I 100% agree. Like slam dunk on this one. Like Spell in a Bottle is the most simultaneously Johnny Spike item.
100%, yes. You're so right.
If something is just exactly both like Johnny and
Bam,
Spike,
like it hit the bullseye between the exact line. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. Sounds spot on.
All right. There we go. KO, take your space here next to Beasts of Chaos. You wouldn't have guessed it. Maybe Tom's got another army in him there.
Yeah, Beasts of Chaos. Yeah.
But like
it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. It is a lifestyle. He can't get into it. He's not cool enough. Okay. All right.
My Bray homies at.
There you go. I don't want to just pick Tom's armies here. Here's where I was looking for. I wondered where these guys were hiding. Let me grab them up here. Disciples of Tzeentch. Where are them Disciples of Tzeentch going?
See, I have like a bias against Tzeentch.
Sure.
And I have to check my bias on these guys.
Yeah.
I think they're Johnny Spike. I want to say they're pure Spike. And I would say with Archeon, pure Spike. But like without Archeon, I think it pulls them a little bit back into the Johnny Spike realm because you're still wombo comboing. You know, pink horrors are the most efficient wounds.
Yeah,
but they're also like
they're the Spike part, no doubt.
Yeah, but like the rest of the stuff with the spells, blue scribes, there's some very Johnny combo-y stuff going on in there.
Right.
I mean, like, what's his name? That sets a die. Destiny dice are like pretty Johnny. Like we want to do all like Johnny. We look at the Destiny dice, and Kairos Fate Weaver is just like a super.
He has a very Johnny piece, right? Do you switch the die at the right time?
Yeah.
So I put him Johnny Spike, even though my impulse is to say pure Spike.
Sure. Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, they seem pretty quintessential Johnny Spike for the most part to me. That's a good point, Meth, about Archeon and the Host Arcana build. But I mean, even then, you're still having to be thoughtful to some degree about your spells and your hero phase and so on. But yeah, pretty quintessential Johnny Spike in my head.
Johnny Army tuned perfectly for Spike, says Psy 915. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, Berserk 22112 says casting spells at nothing is the most Spike I've ever seen. It really, that's a great example, which I can play a team game with Spike on my team. It was so funny. Like, I played a team game this weekend. I got a lot of Warhammer this weekend.
Yeah.
And
Disciples of Spike.
I was teamed up with a Tzeentch player, and opposing us was a Lumineth and Stormcast player. So me and the Stormcast had, no hero phase. All right? So we would just do our one thing and then be done. And then their hero phases would take an hour, right? Because they're both my buddy who's coming down to NashCon with his Tzeentch army. He has, to his credit, he's printed out all his casters in an Excel spreadsheet page, all color coded, all with the spells they have, all color coded. And he goes through and he has them in order of how he wants to cast them. Okay. Depending on whether or not Cogs is out. And then he actually check marks every one that's successful. So at the bottom of the round, he can just go, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 fate points. There we go. And he has an an auditable record of exactly how many fate points he's getting.
That feels very Johnny to me, but
Doesn't it though?
like I said, my impulse is just to go pure Spike, but there's enough Johnny to pull me back from doing that. But I could easily be budged.
Yeah.
I am but a leaf on the wind.
Yeah, it definitely does feel more Spike than Johnny to me right now. Definitely more Spike. But
it does, but I think that's sort of an expression of just it's attracting that thing right now, largely because of the Archeon of it all, right? My answer is and I know that is simply he's part of the equation, but I think this army is firmly Johnny Spike because it still has a lot of those Johnny elements in it. But I'll agree with you.
Right.
It's definitely pushing harder into Spike now. But again, it's not just like power that makes you Spike, right?
Right.
It's being able to sort of, it's that attraction to efficiency, to
Right.
to efficacy on the table, right? And Tzeentch does efficacy really well. Like Destiny dice are this very Johnny mechanic. Kairos has this very Johnny mechanic. Like you can express your intelligence, your cleverness by using these things in the right way, right? Like a good Tzeentch player is hard to beat because they're going to use all their cheats at exactly the time that's worst for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like a Johnny army that has been perfectly. I agree with somebody who said this. Has been perfectly tuned to be spiky.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's just a Johnny army that's built to cheat.
Whenever the points are too good, I mean, this is whenever the points are too good for Tzeentch, it just like right into Spike again.
Instantly,
right?
it falls down. Yeah, it just like whoop, we fell off the balance beam right into Spike land. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna put him like that in the Johnny Spike territory, but towing a little harder into Spike.
Yeah,
we all.
I like that we've become like a 3-dimensional, like on a 2D plane now. Like, nice.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, and we'll see how things shift around. All right. Ogre Maw Tribes. Where them ogres at? Ogre Maw Tribes. I have an answer.
All right.
Do you
Take
want
it.
my answer?
Yeah, take it. Yeah.
They're a quintessential Timmy army.
Really? Okay.
Like nothing they've ever had has been hyper efficient. Okay, even the Frostlord on Stonehorn, he's good, but he's probably worth his points, right? He's probably always been pointed correctly. He's just a powerful piece. He's never been over efficient.
You're allowed to be great, right? Like this is what a great monster.
He's just a good example of that thing, right? Like he's not the broken example of that thing. No one is. There hasn't been like some call out for them to be buffed. The basic ogres, the mechanics they have, you look at what they are: hungry and eating. Right, and these kinds of things. Like everything about what their mechanics says if you're Timmy, you want to play this army. We're big fat boys. We make big charges. We do mortal. Their entire mortal wound on the charge impact hit is a very random thing that can have big, spiky, memorable moments. Their winter bite thing is a very by spiky. I don't mean spike the thing. I'm sorry. It's a very random thing that can have like moments of that was awesome, like I rolled a 12 charge and then I rolled like a ton of 6s and I'm like these two little ogres or whatever came in and just blew you up, son. Like it's such a Timmy army because it creates those types of moments, right?
How do you guys think about pieces like, I'm thinking about like Stuart McGowan, if I'm getting his name correctly, who ran Yetis really well, or some people who are running the Frost Sabers, like coming in on board edge of these more techie pieces.
Yeah, I mean, I think every army has those expressions, right? Like I think that those things are in there. Like to me, it sits definitely in Timmy. Like 100%, this is just a Timmy army. It's built for that. But that doesn't mean that every single unit in there is that. Again, it's the majority focus. Yeah. Like there are techie things you can do with Yetis or with Frost Saber ambushes, but it's not the defining aspect of the army.
I go a step further in sort of supporting your premise in that the most Timmy way to win is making your charges. Like it's right. Well, I wouldn't say the most, but like sort of a quintessentially obvious Timmy way is to like make the big charge and stuff. This is where I think Maw Tribe slips a little bit into Johnny in that it's not always the big alpha isn't actually always the best play, really. Whereas with like Ogre Maw Tribes, it really does become like, no, just get the charge with the Stonehorn. And
well, I mean, they also opened up in this edition 18 packs of Gluttons. If that didn't say go hard, Timmy, I don't know what does. Right? Because like 72, or sorry, no, that's right. Yeah, 72 wounds, right? Counting as 36 bodies. Right, on a point. It's just like, this is the Timmiest thing ever. Like, here's my big pile of meat.
Yeah.
What you gonna do with all that meat? Just like that's the whole thing.
Yeah. No disagreements for me.
Yeah. Right. Like, sure. But I think that's where if you get like a Johnny player playing a Timmy army because they're a Johnny Timmy, if they themselves, then they'll express those elements of the army. Right.
Yeah, they're playing with Yetis, like they're
yeah.
You you give the Johnny Spike that is Jack from Rerolling Ones, the ogre army, and he's playing like all Yetis with
Oops.
the fire belly for the neg one to hit and all that, just nonsense, just nonsense.
Yeah.
Okay. Stormcast Eternals. Where do they sit other than disappointment for another 2 weeks?
So I guess we should have caveated Iron Jaws in case you're watching this 6 weeks into the future, dear human.
These are pre-Battletome release appraisals, yes.
Yeah. So this one's difficult. I feel like it has some Johnny Spike to play with it in like sort of in the ideal sense. But Stormcast Eternals is what I call the Ryu of a game. And Ryu is always about fundamentals, which is a Johnny thing.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So it makes me want to place it Johnny.
Okay.
Yeah, so I played them for a full year. They were my 2019 army after hanging up Sylvaneth after 3 years. They played them very combined arms, which is classic Stormcast. Lists, 6 long strikes. Again, not the 9 because I needed to express, that I didn't need to use 9. So that's very Spike. I suppose I had something to prove.
Yeah, you were proving that I don't need the 9. I can build this.
I don't need the 9. Yeah, I'm gonna run Celestin
just
Prime.
Living your best Johnny Spike life. Yep.
Yep. It was a very Johnny Spike list, and yeah, loved. I mean, the Stormcast list. You see all kinds of different Stormcast lists that are out there. Obviously, there's a long strike list that we saw for a long time, and now we're seeing a lot of Annihilator spam, Ether Wings. Yeah. I think very. Yeah, very very Johnny, but yeah, Johnny, and also Johnny could be Johnny Spike.
Yeah, Johnny Spike.
Yeah, I agree with those appraisals. Like, here's the thing. This is where I think I hope we get realignment in the new book. But let me say, I don't have the cards near me. If you look at the new units, they're trying to build Timmy units. I don't think they're trying to. They don't have a thought in their head about this kind of stuff like Magic designers do.
Right.
But like this army should be a pretty Timmy army, right? Like that should be where it's sitting. It should be Timmy with a little bit of Johnny baked in to teach you kind of the basic list building, right? That's where it should be as the fundamental entry point to the thing. Good, never great, balanced with options, right? That's what it should be.
Right.
But it's not right now. There's too many units. They're doing too much the same thing. List building is what you live or die by in Stormcast Eternals right now. Like, if you look at new Vindictors, new stuff like that, they're much more Timmy-oriented, right? Into, like, simplicity and execution of what they want to do, right? They can sort of...
Yeah, like Rend 2 damage 2 is
look at those, like, Dracovs. I looked at those concussors, and my Timmy senses went, yeah, baby! Give me them 6 attacks on 3s and 3s, neg 2 for 2. I'm in!
Yeah, and looking for those 6s when your stuff blows up, lightning strikes.
Yeah.
That's the most amazing Stormcast rule.
So, but we have to wait for the new book, and I agree. Right now, they're kind of sitting right beside Blades of Corn. I think they're just kind of like a Johnny army right now. They're sort of an underwhelming Johnny army is basically what it is, right? And that's sort of the best versions of them we see in the current world is like people who are doing really techie exact list building with exactly the right pieces to project power in exactly the right ways. And they're just too techie to be the intro army they should be right now. Right? They rely on like birds doing counter charges and, again, like,
a little bit of a eureka moment here, and just a quick question for you. Do you think the sort of default armies or the default state of the game should actually just be like Timmy Johnnies? I think that should be how they should tune them. Is to be like this is a good starter army is a Timmy Johnny army
for the starting armies. Yes. Yeah. Right. So like Khorne, like anything I would consider a starting army, which to me is like
Khorne, Stormcast,
Orcs. Those kinds of things should all sit in that space.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll see. Like I'd love to see the Stormcast move up into Timmy Johnny land firmly. I agree with Arturius, who says "Oops, all dragons" has big Timmy potential. Yep. I agree. That's why I am so excited for that list, right? Because because I am a primary Timmy, and like I saw that suddenly Stormcast are going to have this way to play them that hopefully isn't garbage. Like that's my 25% spike, Like that's where that's in there because I know I have that instinct to win that's still there. But like I don't need it to be great. I just need it to be good. That's all I ask for. Just
you
good.
just want your 3-2 army that when you play great and run hot, you can be contested, right?
Right.
Like you can be in it to win it.
That's what I want.
I think that's a good place to. I think that's a really good perspective to go into the game with.
Yeah.
Man.
Yep. So. You're exactly right, Matt. Okay. All right. Seraphon. Where them lizards at?
Yeah, they have. You mentioned Thunder Lizards. That is fitting now. I would say Timmy Spike with the Thunder Lizard. It appears to me. I'm not that tuned into what all they're doing with those lists right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead, Matt.
No, so I think this is kind of like with your metaphor for Blades of Corn, but the Spike version of it. It's a Spike army, but like it has the pull where it reaches into Johnny and down into Timmy perfectly.
Yep.
Like I think it's a Spike army that reaches. Old version was like a lot more Johnny with like the multi teleports and stuff like. But it's not doing
right.
That. So
Meph, I agree with you. Like I think it's a Spike army. It relies on like now. Here's my thing. I think there is still some Johnny elements in it. It does reach up into buffs. I think it sits kind of where Zinch does, where it's got like 30% Johnny in it, but it's mostly Spike. It relies on this sort of like ramping units to efficiency and sort of power bombing its way through things. You know, like now with the Thunder Lizards, you're you're hitting people with these big laser beams and double tapping laser beams and all this kind of stuff, right? But it's still combo-rific. In fact, when you look at like what it is, there's so much comboing and relying on and buff stacking and all these different things you have to do that to me it's such a Johnny Spike army, right? Because it relies on built combo-rific expressed power. Like it on its own, almost all their units are garbage. Right?
It doesn't quite hit full toolbox though, is the thing. Like
no,
it doesn't.
I don't think it does. That's why it's not like pure Johnny.
Right. Yeah.
I think it still has these Spike elements in the efficiency plays. Like that is to say, it got away from being pure Johnny because the units need combos, but then when they do, they shoot up to 1 million.
Right. Yeah, their force multipliers are better than your force multipliers, right?
Right.
Like that's
Right.
Yeah, that's fair. Fair read. So Spike Johnny, like
Spike Johnny. Yep. That's what
maybe
I'm saying.
dipping a okay. Perfect.
Dipping a toe down a little bit more into Spike than a little bit up into Johnny. But yeah, like I agree with your read there, Meph, of that like sometimes the Thunder Lizard thing can like, oh yay, big stompy dinosaurs. Like I agree with you that element's there, but that's not actually how it plays. You don't just take like a bunch of stompy dinosaurs unbuffed and run forward.
Yeah, we're not seeing the Croxagore list with all the big dinosaurs, right? Like when's the last time you saw what is it, Grand Pterosaur or whatever the heck, like on the table? Like you just
Dreadsaurian, yeah.
Dreadsaurian, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, somebody's got.
First of all, I don't know what you just called it, Grand Pterosaur. That's its new name. That is the best name I have ever heard. Dreadsaurian is dead. It is now the Grand Pterosaur.
It doesn't have
so
wings.
much better of a name.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Get in charge of their naming department, Meph. That was just. I wasn't even pitching you a ball. You ran in from the dugout, jumped in front of the other batter, and just smashed it into the stadium. Holy crap! Grand.
I only know this one move.
Sure. They just started running the bases, like, and everybody's like, "Is that legal? Can you do that?" All right, fantastic. Oh boy. Okay. Yeah, the Maws of Jork and the Grand Pterosaur. You got it. All right. Okay. All right. Here's what we'll do. We'll do this one next for you, Meph. I think I know where this one sits. But I'm curious as to your take. Let's talk about the Ossiarch Bone Reapers. Let's talk about them boner boys.
So
right in your wheelhouse here, Meph.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like I'm probably gonna tip the cards here. My appeal for the army is certainly from a Johnny perspective.
Sure.
I really like the decision making, the way RDP mechanics were for the army.
Yep.
Because you're looking at like you're just playing. You were playing chess when other people were playing checkers.
Sure.
It was a very Johnny thing. Yep. The list building, you do agonize over those 200 last points.
Yep. 100%. It's literally an army where for like months the discussion in the OBR chat was what's the last 200 points, right? And that was like the discussion.
Yeah,
I agree.
So like formerly, I would put it Johnny Spike, but right now it's Spike actually because it is held aloft 100% by the efficiency of the units.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I know.
I agree. I mean, that's certainly been what I've been hearing and the results that I've seen. You know, you with the machine gun, Mystic Shield from Arkan, Petrifex Elite, just having units that get on objectives and they don't die, kind of old school Petrifex coming back.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think there's a very big Timmy element to it because like it's got that like look at what it take, you know, like look what couldn't kill me. Like there's a very Timmy like Mortec crawlers are kind of Timmy like artillery pieces because you're like, oh, they're so like, you know, like there's not really proper artillery. Look at my proper artillery, you know, like, but it's hard to sell people on concept on like the sort of like esoterica of it. And I think you got to go with like what's obvious. Again, in addition to it was Johnny Spike, like right there. Right now it's Spike. Because it's not Johnnying super hard right now.
Yeah, you know, Meth, you sold me. I was gonna say my inclination was to Johnny Spike. But I think you're right. It fell out of Johnny in this edition. I agree. It wants to be up here up top. Like it's I'm gonna put it at the top of the area where it wants to be so bad it's trying to claw its way up there.
It really it wants to do something with its 15 relentless discipline points a turn. It's not allowed to. So you just have to like no tricks, just fists. You just pound.
Yeah, like I survived by just being super tough and hitting super hard, and it's like it's an all efficiency play. Yeah. Like the strength of Mortec Guard, you know, the strength of Archon Mystic Shield machine gunning. Yeah. I think you're right. I think you're exactly right. You nailed it.
I haven't been seeing many Mortec crawlers in lists anymore.
Because they're Timmy.
Arkan, Catacross. Mortec Guard, your usual, you know, maybe 5 or 2x5 ponies. And maybe a Gothsar, but often not a Gothsar. It's kind of a lot.
You're not even really playing in the monster world with people unless you're bringing Archon. I do think there's some fun Nagash builds in there, but like it's just efficiency's the game right now. You have a plan, you execute, and you grind people out.
Yep, absolutely. Nailed it.
I agree. You completely sold me there. All right, Slaves to Darkness. This is a tough one because it's so much, right? Like this army is just a lot. Meph, what's your take on this one?
I want to say Johnny. I know Archeon's around, but I want to say pure Johnny because this was one of the first books to like me. The excitement in me hasn't dwindled from when they released it for list building.
Okay.
It is a Johnny dream for list building.
Yeah.
And how it plays on the table from like if you're going to spoilers where you're like you're just doing stuff that like other armies aren't allowed to do, where you're turning terrain into like shadow pools and you're teleporting or flying onto them and you're just doing some bonkers stuff. Taking Marauders down a peg really helped let I think the Johnny shine. And one of the mistakes I think people are making with the army is they're not leaning into their Johnny enough to see that there's other builds available.
Okay.
I tend to find this a quintessential Johnny Spike, especially if we're going to throw in like Knights of the Empty Throne and Legion of the First Prince. Those are rock hard lists.
Yeah,
sure.
And Archeon is.
And Archeon is, but just extraordinary efficiency in the Knights of the Empty Throne and the Legion of the First Prince. You know, Bellicor, Kairos, maybe a Bloodthirster, the Khorne Demon Prince. Plague Bearers for Battle Line. It's just like everything, and then they're summoning Pink Horrors, or they've got some Pink Horrors, like Knights of the Empty Throne, the Baron Guard that you can't get off the table, especially now in 3.0, all the buffs you can put on them. It's just efficiency everywhere in the army.
I'm gonna apologize again, but it reminds me of Team America, where it's just like what's all the best stuff we can throw in an army, and Slaves to Darkness does that right now. Is you just look at what's the most efficient crap I have access to. And then you put it in a list, and then it's like, oops, it works. Like, it's good.
Right.
Again, it belies the heart of a Johnny, though. Like, the Johnny heart is beating at the core of this army. But
okay, I'm going to make an argument.
Ooh.
Here's my argument, all right? This is truly the only perfectly balanced between all three book in the current meta. Let me defend that.
Okay.
I agree with everything you said about Johnny. The list building phase with this is so important, right? You have so many different capabilities, wombo combos, things like that you can do. Like, it is the nature of this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But it also has Archeon and Knights of the Empty Throne and stuff that's just like hyper efficient and powerful and unbreakable, right? But it also has a lot of Timmy elements in it. It's got big goofy monsters and the Eye of the Gods table and chariots and chaos knights, all of which really appeal to, like, you know, the sort of Timmy aspects of stuff of, like, you charge in and you break somebody on the charge with these Rend 2 buffed corn chaos knights, right?
Well, the assassin prince is a pretty Timmy piece too. Like,
Sure.
you want to make like a demon prince that can just go around and actually do the job
Right.
that other people aren't
Like,
allowed to do.
If we kept going through this army, we would be like the llama kitty cat, super Johnny piece.
Great piece.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
The, like, you can just keep digging. The corn demon prince, super Johnny piece, right? Archeon, hyper spike right now. Bellicor, hyper spike right now, right? But again,
Bellicor used to be a Johnny piece though, you know,
Sure.
but he just got too efficient, right? Like,
right.
he's
he's big and tough and he can, like, get there, right? But you can, like, I can keep giving examples. Giant block of Chaos Warriors, very Timmy.
But
Right.
so you can do it, but should you do it? Like, can you play it Timmy?
Yeah,
and
I
feel
think
like
it can.
you
I think it wants you to do
Okay.
all of those things. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, the big Marauder packs, right? Like Timmy Spike. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like it keeps hitting all three because it wants to combo to create efficiency, but also create big moments. It's doing all three in almost everything it does. It is truly like the dagger from Infinity War, right? It's like perfectly balanced as all things should be. It's just, it is in a class of itself. I think it's one of the most best written books, right?
Yeah,
I can't even disagree. Yeah.
The way
it's
it
great.
lets you play the different subfactions, each can express the different elements here in different ways.
Yeah.
Right? It's just a home run. Like, I'm a super Timmy player. I have a bunch of S2D lists I run, I love, that are super Timmy for me, right? That rely on, like, charging and impact hits and mortal wounds and big, you know, sort of like big explosive attacks, right? But at the same time, it's got little Johnny elements I use, little Spike elements I use that I know are hyper efficient, like all those kinds of things. But it's expressing that part of me. I just think it is literally in a class all its own.
Yeah. All right, so just set it off to the side,
Yeah,
like
I'm just
right
gonna
over
leave
the
it here on the
Warhammer
side,
week.
right? It's like
Yeah.
it is all three, right? It's just kind of like its own thing. And I just think seating it in any one of these or even any two of these would be disingenuous.
You just blow up the image to where it covers like Timmy, Johnny,
Right,
and
yeah.
Spike.
At the end, it's just like,
I can't really interrogate that. Like, I mean, because obviously, like, I gravitate. I look at it. I'm like, the Johnny stuff is what makes my eyes light up, and that's where I'm. But you know, that's the one question I had is like, yeah, but can you actually play the, you know, the Timmy stuff and you know, compellingly and stuff? So,
right.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Very good.
By the way, guys, nobody needs Bellicor on a 4-up ignore rend, 4-up to put wounds onto some pink cores, whatever, and a 5-up ward. After all of that, if we could please get rid of that in this game, please and thank you.
Sure. Yeah,
I don't know that
I don't
just
have
handed
Legion
us
of the
target.
First Prince on here because it's kind of like it's sort of part of this, but sort of not. I mean, I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah.
I'm really getting tired of these Legion of the First Prince games with the 3 layers of nonsense.
Yeah, it's I would love it if we just fixed the stupid bodyguard rule and made it so it's one or the other, but you know.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I don't know why we haven't done that yet. It's a mystery, but I'm going to abuse it in 2 days. Okay, in a weak way, not in a strong way. It's like Cities is the weakest abuse of it. Let me just say that.
Right.
But go Nomad Prince. Okay. Anyways, so let's do who we grabbing next. These boring little idiots. All right, Fire Slayers. I think I've made my stance clear. Boring isn't a tier, so where do they go?
Spike.
Spike, hard Spike.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's, yeah.
they have like 2 units. Like I know
Yeah.
magma droths, you can win with
You can-
them, and
Yeah, you could
yeah.
do it. You could do a Timmy mag list.
Yeah, you can do a spike Timmy, but I don't think that that's
Yeah.
the the. Go ahead. Looks
No.
like you got a thought.
I agree with your thoughts, but I'm going to I think it should toe into Timmy a little. So it's pulling
Mhm.
like this, like the same way, kind of. So we have some of these armies towing, like Iron Jaws is Timmy, but it towed down into the Johnny Timmy. I think Fire Slayers is Spike, but it toes down into the Spike Timmy.
All right.
Because of
I'm-
things like Magma Droths and the nature of their units being kind of unkillable. Right, that kind of
And
thing.
it's cool. Berserk. It feels like you're still playing the Berserker army. The experience, right? Like
100%. Like the things that lean into the Timmy portion are like the what are they, the two dudes, the two like non-leader heroes.
Grimwrath Berserkers.
Yeah, the Grimwrath Berserker
Yeah.
and the Doomseeker or whatever, right? Like
Yeah.
those are very Timmy type heroes and what they can do, and they can punch way above their weight.
Yeah.
And like that kind of stuff. So to me, it's definitely towing in to Timmy Spike because of those elements, because of like the mags, because of the mags, because of those types of heroes. But it's still very strongly Spike, right? Like it's a unit, or it's an army built on like sort of achieving through efficiency of a pretty straightforward play style. Like I will grind out and win, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can still do some pretty terrifying lists, in my opinion, in 3.0. Like you can get, I've been looking at some lists and writing some lists, and it's wild how much you can still get in 2,000 points.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that there was a Fire Slayers list in one of those top 10s as well.
There was.
So like it's around still.
Yeah, even if there weren't, I would have done my take where I'm like, oh, this army can win, because I do think like like splashing in a magma droth or two, like you can actually, there's some compelling lists in there.
Yeah,
I was worried that the coherency and would hurt them too much, but it's one of those things where like everyone's playing with those new rules, so it only hurt them as much as it hurt everyone else, like and the right way to run them was 20s anyway, so
right.
10 do work to any other person's 10 in the game, so
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Yeah, I think that one's pretty straightforward. I agree. So like, yeah, not much disagreement there. It's sort of what it is. I think that's why Tom drifted away from it. It didn't have enough gas in this Johnny engine. Lumineth Realm Lords. I'll start on this one. Okay. It is the Johnniest of Johnny that ever Johnny to Johnny. Okay. Like it is this. It's this 100%. Many of my Johnny examples so far have been Lumineth examples. The iconic is a Lumineth unit, right? They have certainly some spike elements in some efficiency of things, but and sort of in the nature of like people who just like, oh, here's the thing that is just pretty efficient on its own. Severith is a good example of like a pretty spike piece,
just the Fox Fox spam.
Like Fox Spam 5 is a super spiky type of thing, right? That's why Joe Cryer was playing it. But
love you, Joe, but that's a crap list, my friend. Get off that.
Just ridiculously toxic, where he flies up and charge blocks everybody, and then move blocks everybody, and then floats away from him. Yes.
Yeah.
The exact situation that I originally talked about being like the nightmare scenario. I did it with Hurricanes, but he did it with Foxes, but it's all the same.
Right.
At any rate, you're a bad person, Joe, and you should feel bad. Love you, buddy.
You're better than this, Joe. You're better than this.
He's not. He's been playing Horror Spam Siege for years. He's not better than this. It's like, despite those occasional toe-ins to there, like maybe the big mountain guy with his big 5 damage attacks is a little Timmy.
The hammer dudes are like they're pretty Timmy. Swordmasters, I'd hear a case for literally any of the 3. Like
right, but and it's not that there's elements aren't there. They are. But it is the army that breaks all the rules. It's the army that literally says, hold on, I have a response for that. Right? Like I'm gonna burn this. I'm gonna burn a penny and then take away the bravery and give you the negative to bravery, and then your people ran in battle shocks, or my people ran in battle shocks. Now I give you -5 to your battle shock test, and then also because my stone mage is here, my guy still fights at maximum efficiency, and it's the end of your shooting phase. I move away from you 12 inches. Like literally, if I was trying to explain what Johnny is to somebody, I would say it's Lumineth.
Yeah. Outside of the Foxes and Iliath Sentinel spam, where you're double tapping from Unity of Purpose, although, make sure you're following the rules on that. Like, you have to be shooting at the charging unit. You can't use one of those units to shoot at whatever that's within 30 inches. I don't really find them to be a spike army.
No.
To me, they're
not.
obviously they're very Johnny, but there's, one of the things that people don't realize until they play the army, like you do the traditional tech list builds, is that they often don't pass the DPS check, the damage per second. They often don't have burst damage, and you'll lose games because you don't have that burst damage. And
they're still a little light on wounds. Like they're
light on wounds. Yeah, you can really struggle to win games with that army. Tech list is absolutely the most Johnny of all the gods. Like, hands down, in my
Ryan
opinion.
S said just replace Johnny's orange rectangle with the battle tome cover. Yeah, exactly. Real quick, let me answer Real Huntsman here. Hey, Real Huntsman, welcome, buddy. He said, just joined in. What is Timmy, Johnny, and Spike? They are 3 psychographic profiles, and we are talking about what psychographic profiles these armies tend to represent. Timmy wants to experience something, big moments, big effects, big cool things. Johnny wants to express something, often cleverness, to likes comboing and list tech and things like that. And Spike wants to prove something. That can sometimes be winning, but it can be other things as well. But it's to sort of prove that that they're the best.
That they've got the stuff. That they've got the stuff.
The army that they're playing has the stuff, or whatever. There you go. So it's super Johnny-ish, Johnny. Again, it can reach into these other two, but it's as Johnny as Johnny ever Johnny'd.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the lore seeker, did you use the lore seeker as the example?
Yes.
Yeah, I do, because having played,
he can be used wrong so easy.
Oh my God, yeah, that might be the most variance of any model that I can think of in the game right now, just in terms of I've seen so many players use them well, and other players just kind of throw them away. Sometimes a good use of them is he can force your opponent to have to go first.
Right.
Taking away the double turn, because I found that to be a pretty good play. But anyway, just a really fascinating piece. Very Johnny.
Yep. I agree. All right, Soulblight Grave Lords. All right, Meph, you're the stand.
Just my Virko shirt here.
There it is.
While I sip for my Ossiarch Bone Reaper cup.
Yep.
So I have the thought in my head, but I like thought experiments. So I'm gonna actually take a little bit of a different stance than what is in my head and see if I can prove it, if that's all right.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is a Johnny Timmy army.
Okay.
So it's got some efficiency going on. Belladama is what I want every 200-point wizard in the game that casts 2 spells to look like.
Okay.
Every single one of the games should all look like her. This is perfect. But the 2 spells means decision making, the buff circles and stuff like that. That's very Johnny. The way you're stacking your grave sites to now give yourself benefits to really, really maximize this army's power. You're thinking. Mm-hmm. The grave sites alone are Johnny. Where you place them is going to dictate. You're telegraphing how you're going to fight a game or how you're going to play the game. You're even playing a little like liar's dice with people where you put that over there, like they're wondering about it. The Johnny is all over it. The variance of scrolls, the efficiency, or not the efficiency, sort of the breadth of relevant scrolls. Nothing's going to dazzle you, but everything in its right place. There's a role for zombies versus skeletons right now. Do you think you're going to be taking a punch or dealing a punch? Mm-hmm. It's going to dictate which one you're using. Like the best lists have both, I'd posit. Mm-hmm. And then you go into the sub factions of Virkos. Virkos is the best because there's always the best sub faction. But like you said, Evengarai just won. Mm-hmm. And this is where we start to see some of the Timmy come out. Mm-hmm. Playing with big packs of zombies is Timmy. it's not the most damaging thing in the world crit fishing for those 6s to mortal wound. Like there's ways to get more efficient damage out of this army. It's just fun.
Sure.
To put 60 zombies on the table and go, you know, like same thing with the monsters in this army. You look across it and like every monster, you're just like, yes, awesome. You know, like a Vlazda is one of those quintessential, just like like Halo and I have conversations just throughout our entire tenure of the game. What is the most monster of like a monster hero can be? It's Vlazda versus beast, like Frostlord on Stormhorn. Yeah. Like if you got that one as a Timmy piece, like this is the Timmy Johnny piece because it's got the spells, right? But pound for pound, they're very Timmy in how they're expressed on the table. So I think it actually starts to drift up into Timmy because I mean, Blood Knights. You want to run Castle like Timmy, like
level up mechanics in there, like RPG elements, super Timmy thing, right? Oh, my Blood Knights leveled up like 3 times. I had all the special abilities.
They took a Johnny army in Legions of Nagash, jettisoned the bloat from the army, and just put and just stuffed Timmy into it. Like that's why it's a great book.
Somewhere back here, Tidings said, yes, this is a Johnny Timmy with 1 or 2 pure spike units because of Johnny combos. And I agree with that. I think you're like Meph, I agree. I think this is a Johnny Timmy army. I think it sits right in that middle space, right? Like you look at the various builds that are in there, it wants you to play in a Timmy style. It has some Timmy units, like again, things that are good, not like Spike is like, yeah, this is fine. You know what I mean? Like you can Spike if you're that type of Spike, you can sort of get there with this, right? But this is absolutely like a combo army that has big cool pieces.
Fort Dry is pure
big
Timmy.
Moments. And it just like I agree. That's what I think it sits right in that space. Like it's just it isn't efficiency for efficiency's sake. It needs the Johnny elements, the sort of Johnny play and cleverness applied to Timmy pieces, and then all of a sudden it can go to 1 million.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, the way that I think of Iron Jaws is a Timmy Johnny. It's that on steroids.
Right.
Soul Blight, and that was a hell of a sales.
Like 20 more units.
Yeah, exactly. That was a hell of a sales job, Meth. You nailed that.
Yeah, I will say that it's funny because both Oryx and Soul Blight have level up mechanics. What I mean by that is, and you think, where does Oryx have it? Well, every time the Mega Bosses kill somebody, they gain a wound, they gain an attack, they get bigger, right? So it's the same thing with your vampires in Soul Blight. They kill certain things, they get bigger, better, right? These sorts of RPG kill mechanics of like kill and grow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The not Laukovai, but the unnamed one, actually a good piece, but it's got a literal Timmy mechanic on it that it can just berserk and run around just doing stupid stuff. Like such a great, like it's just, oh man, it's just reignited the fire inside of me.
Sure.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Like the Timmy spark that I keep inside, but like sometimes drift away from my pure Johnniness. Like I remembered what it was like to be a small lad and love Warhammer again.
Yeah, sure. I get it. Andrew asked, what about Vorthos and Melvin? There are appreciation profiles, not psychographic profiles. We could certainly align these things to those as well, but they don't, no part of being in one of those hedges out these. Like your overlap. They're completely overlapping, not exclusive. Okay. Like they're testing for different questions, basically. All right. 3 left. Here we go. Skaven. Let's grab them rats. I'll start with this one. Okay.
Yeah.
Skaven is obviously the most fair army right now in the game. As we all know.
Did you hear that, Meth, last week? We established that on the show.
Right. It has been factually established that Skaven is the most fair
just
army
mathematically proven
in the game.
Beyond contestation. We have passed hypothesis.
I've hired a team of scientists. We've done double-blind studies. The FDA has agreed this is the most fair army in the game. All right.
I appreciate the hyperbole, but I kind of agree. Like,
don't go down that road. Don't do that.
Don't validate him. Like,
no, we're doing so well. We're getting our average up on this show. We got 13 minutes to hit our average again at 3 hours 30. Let's not fill it with that hot air. Let's just move on.
I'll be straightforward about this. Skaven is Timmy Johnny. Okay, for the same things that you just said about Soul Blight, I could literally just lift that entire speech and put it in here, right? Like the units go big. They use Johnny-like cleverness on Timmy-type units to achieve, unexpected outcomes, right? Now, I will say it leans a little more Johnny than Soul Blight, just a little bit.
Toolbox.
Because of the nature of the toolbox, because of the nature of, like, you have to really use your plays at exactly the right time. Like, when did you remember you need to skitter away and trigger your combos and stuff like that? When do you burn your your rocks, your green rocks, things like that. But it's still ultimately a Johnny Timmy army. That's what it is. It's got big units of rats and big bells, and like the screaming bell itself is such a Timmy piece as a reason it's always in my army, right? Because it is such a like, oh, ring the bell for fun, let's see what happens. Boom, demon lord, vermin lord, yeah, that's you're living the dream.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So it just, you look at the mechanics, the baseline mechanics are very Johnny-ish, the pieces are very Timmy-ish. You put the two together, that's where you end up.
I agree. No disagreements. The only thing is, like, I feel like it goes a little bit more Timmy and a little bit more Johnny in both like in both of the ways.
Sure, it kind of stretches.
But it rubber bands it back into the middle as firmly as Soul Blight Gravelords.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Tyler, any disagreement?
Just the usual, Stone Friends with more and more war power.
Sure.
Crap that destroys your arguments, but
Spike.
Yeah, the Storm Friends with more and more war power is like the super spike element that just shouldn't be there, right? But again, it's the exception that isn't the army, right? Like that's just a fluke of this current world that just doesn't. I don't think it defines a unit with like 70 units in it,
Sure, yeah, that's fair.
I get it.
Yeah.
Show me on the doll where the Storm Friends touched you, Tyler. You've been deeply wounded by these. I can tell.
And I'm the person who plays Nagash, and you're the one who hates them.
Tyler, don't worry. I only run 6 Storm Friends when I play. So
there we go.
So that's my 10 snake bows right there. Yeah, it's all fair.
We're all sipping the same juice.
I'm good guy Skaven player. Don't worry.
Yeah, good guy. Yeah. I'll take my sports votes now, please.
Exactly. Yes. Behold my beneficence. Yes. Lay your sports votes at my feet. All right, cities.
You want to, Tyler? You want to? Have you let off?
Yeah, cities. They strike me pretty Johnny. There can be spike choices, but first and foremost Johnny. I mean, cities and Sigmar lists are all over the place, and they have so much creativity, so much different expression. All these different. You're seeing Living City. You're seeing Emelgard. I've seen tons of different lists over the past few weeks. Venetian, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's insanity. So it's got. I mean, it's another one of those. It does have some Timmy elements. I could see a little bit, but I mean, for the most part, I would say primary Johnny, secondary Spike, because you are potentially pulling from some efficient choices, starting with Gotrek right now.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the Gotrek of it all. I'm not counting him in this. I'm not gonna drag down if Gotrek is an anchor pulling this army down here. It's just like wrench, just boom, rocketing it down into Spike territory, right?
Yeah. If I agree 100% here. If LRL is like the most Johnny, like you can get, I think Cities of Sigmar is the most like toolbox you can get, and toolbox is quintessentially.
Yeah, Johnny. They sort of represent two different aspects of Johnnyism.
What Johnny is, yeah.
Right, yeah,
exactly,
absolutely. Because again, these things can have different expressions. Right. This is one of the things that's really interesting. I'll link, by the way, Rosewater's original articles where he talks about the sub-genres of these, because it's actually really interesting when you look at the different sub-genres of these, like the sub-Johnnies. Like one of the sub-Johnnies in Magic is the innovator, like the list guy, who's just like always like just really trying to make the most creative possible list to just like dazzle people with like, whoa, I did not see you ripping that card out, right? Just teching your face off, right?
Yeah, this is the person who's wishing for Grape Shot to kill you. The first person who ever realized you could do that. Like...
Right. And like that's so Cities.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's the assassins in the Phoenicium.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Like, that is like that boom.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas the The wombo combo, I'm going to execute counterspell Johnny player, kind of like control player, is Lumineth.
Yeah.
Right? And those are sort of two different expressions of that personality.
Yeah. Yep.
But I mean, they definitely do have some spike elements to me. That's not just Go Trick. I mean, I
Sure.
think obviously the 30 Iron Drakes, we've
Sure.
had that forever, you know, and we've got some other choices.
Luminarchs, like
Luminar,
Luminarchs
are Luminarchs?
for a spell.
seen those
Haven't seen them as much. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, Celestial,
agree.
Hurricanum maybe is what you're thinking of, Meth.
Sorry,
Like
Hurricanum.
Hurricanum.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Hurricanum.
Yeah, I agree.
Hurricanum,
Yeah.
Iron Drakes, Phoenix Guard, like
Total
Phoenix
spike
Guard.
beast, the Hurricanum. Yes, agreed. Like
Right.
just efficiency in 10 cities, right? Like it's for what it's bringing. Yeah. So like I agree. I pushed it down in the rank more towards spike because I think it does fall down that direction. Like it's definitely towing in 10-20% spike, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I agree. All right. Last one.
Oof.
Saved the best for last?
I mean,
Saved
it's
the
just
something for last. Heat Knights. Hit me, Meth. Go.
I mean, it wants to be. I think it wants to be like Johnny Timmy, but it leans. This could be my bias. I think it leans Johnny right now. There's really no way to play this army viably without pulling some list wizardry or table wizardry. Like you're just, it's a finesse army. It's not doing the Timmy thing where you want to just shove Keepers of Secrets down people's faces and run 30 blocks of Daemonettes, and you want to do you don't do that though. You even want like the cool back-breaking charges with these really, really awesome new cavalry pieces. You're not doing that. I mean, you're playing a finesse sort of like dink and doink army that's just, you know, sort of gotcha-ing people around. It's like a fencer, you know, like just you know, with a parry dagger. You're just kind of like, and then you do have this like sort of like time bomb of like some really actual solid summoning but if you're tabled before you get to summon, your summoning didn't mean that much. So I mean, it's a Johnny army to me.
Okay. All right. Tyler?
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much what I see as well. Yeah, and when I'm seeing the results, the people who are picking it up, I mean, I think of Byron with Facehammer. Byron's a very Johnny player. He's been playing Slanesh, talking about, you know, really having a hell of a time.
I mean, he was like the mixed order, just
Byron, exactly.
guru, right? Like,
yeah. But yeah, it started out as a Timmy Spike army, where you got incredible efficiency. I mean, that's hardcore what it was when it came out. And like a good friend of mine, Bryce, he absolutely loved it, and then that went away. And he's kind of that kind of player. And you know, so now he's playing Surprise Gargants, because they're, you know, sort of Timmy Spike or Spike Timmy right now. And so no, I think you generally nailed it.
I agree with your historical read. When it came out, it was 100% like Timmy hard Spike, right? Like, because it was just so efficient at what it did. My argument is it's Johnny Spike. Now, I know that sounds strange because it's also a hard book, but the reason I say it's Johnny Spike is because, one, if you're playing this army, you are trying to prove something, right? Like, you have to prove that you can do this. But
it's the Beast of Chaos effect. Yeah.
Two, there are also elements in it that are still very spiky. Okay, the pile-in control is a very sort of Johnny Spike element, right?
Yeah.
The summoning is a very spike element, like it's hyper efficient. Okay.
Pile-in control.
Yeah, your locus. Your locus stops. Oh,
sure. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Right. I'm thinking of the Slick Blade Seekers Battalion. That's no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. No, just the fact that on 4+3 you can stop violence, right?
Gotcha.
So it encourages this sort of spiky Johnny type play, right? That intersection is what that locus is about. Now, what detracts from it being more spiky is that that's still a 3-up, 4-up roll. It's not Slobbity Bile Piper just going like doo-doo-doo and just nailing it, right?
Yeah.
So you can't bet on it. The nature of the thing is that it does have efficient summoning. It does have, you know, the ability to
a couple solid mechanics.
Yeah, a couple like pretty solid mechanics. But it's ultimately like it is such a finesse army. You have to use to get the spike out of it, you have to channel your inner Johnny.
I like that. Yeah.
Right. but it wants to play that game by like this tic tac exact play win, right? It's not doing anything else.
Which is
Right.
the opposite axiom of what it used to be, which was Spike
Right.
Timmy. Like,
Right.
I mean, they're basically, that's going to be like, if it were a color wheel or we did this more like a Venn diagram, those would be like kind of opposed to each other,
Yeah,
wouldn't
yeah.
they?
It flipped on its head. Like this was the hard part for me with the army,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Like I didn't mind when we were nerfed down, but I could still play the army in sort of the way I wanted.
That makes
Right.
sense.
But now that it flipped into this sort of play style, that's probably like if you look across that line of what it's there with, none of those armies are the things I play. Right?
Right. Yeah.
Because it's sort of the least interesting play style to me. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You like your
up-
Timmys?
I'm up
Yeah.
there. Like
Yeah, you like your yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love it.
Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, love it. Yeah.
Yep.
I think that
No,
seems pretty spot on.
It's interesting because like as we've been talking about this, I've kind of also been gleaning insights into both of how you see the game.
Sure.
You know, which has been, you know, it's just some of these things that I didn't quite quantify because, you know, you are a very cerebral person, Vince. And so I expect you to be more in line with like wanting some Johnny stuff. And you're like, nah, get that Johnny crap out of here.
Right.
You know, like a proper Timmy Johnny can like bring you back. But like, if you were talking Johnny Spike, you're not interested in that.
Right.
Or don't seem to be.
No, I agree. It's like now it's funny because I'm like the army I'm playing this weekend is me banging cities into a Johnny sort of Spike type of, or sorry, into a Johnny Timmy type of build, right? Ironically, like relying on sort of wombo combos and stuff like that to achieve big effects and power projection and stuff like that. This is the most Johnny-ish list I've ever brought to a tournament. I mean, I'll say that absolutely. So we'll see how that all works out.
It's not a bad sort of like bell curve that's developed here either, by the way.
Right.
Like, I mean, there's not as much Timmy as I'd like, but if we flip the to where these sort of Timmy Spike armies were at the top, we'd have we'd show a little bit more Timmy representation. I think is what you'd see.
I mean, I think it's interesting that all of the destruction armies, as I would have guessed, are either in or toe in to Timmy in some way, right? Every one of them, right? Like it's where like destruction is the home of Timmy, right? Which explains why I have an ogre army, an orc army, and a sun's army. Right, like, yep, and I enjoy them. I don't like the goblins because to me the goblins fall too much, but there's both a personal aesthetic taste here, but they also fall to me a little more into the Johnny category, right? They tipped over a little too far for me.
I like that death has a nice spread. Like we got
it does.
this. You know, like,
Yeah.
you want your Timmy like play Flesh Eater Courts or Soulblight Gravelords and lean a little bit more into your Timmy. Like you want your Spike. Yeah,
it's kind of covering the bases, right? Yeah, it also has two of the most pure expressions right now in Nighthaunt and Ossiarch, right? Which I agree with both fell into that category.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right.
This has been fascinating, guys. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, this was fun. It's I think it's funny. Arturia said it's odd that Fire Slayer should be the only Order army that approaches Timmy. Yeah, that's true. That is interesting. I hadn't thought about that, but that's a really great observation, Arturius. Yeah, they're just sort of not. You look at the Order armies; it's just not the experience that you tend to get out of them, right? They tend to be either falling into the like efficiency win curve, right, or they're in the like wombo combo, be super clever area, right?
I see. I mean, we haven't brought in fluff and flavor per se, and this has been from a mechanical playing the game aspect of it. But if you think about like sort of the narrative of Order, that does make a certain kind of sense. You know, like having to be structured and good and efficient and to try to like sort of fight back the wilds. And now I'm doing the narrative thing here.
No, it makes sense. You're right. The sort of narrative is they're the underdogs. They have to work together and combine, right? And so they almost like sort of at a meta level, they sort of build in Johnniness, right? Is what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yes, I can post a picture of this. I will save off this picture now that we have assigned it, and I will tweet it out. So follow me at Warhammer Weekly on Twitter if you want to get this image. I will tweet it out. There you go. Cool.
I love Slaves of Darkness just hanging out.
Just hanging out, all three. Yes, the perfect book. It gets a little gold star.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. Well, this was a lot of fun. This was an episode I got real excited about. For doing a little while back, and Meph, I'm super glad you were able to join us. This was fantastic, brother.
Man, anytime. Yeah. And I love the thinking episodes where you really getting into this. So this was great. And Tyler, it's been so long since we hung out, so this was just.
I know, dude. It's an honor, man.
Yeah,
I missed you. I
Yeah,
can't wait to see you in person, buddy.
Yeah. We'll have to grudge or get it or just set aside some time next time we.
Are you gonna be at Brew City?
I'm gonna make an appearance. I'm gonna make an appearance.
Okay.
I'm gonna show. I can't take the weekend off, unfortunately.
Okay,
but
that's
I'm gonna show up like
well,
Saturday night or Friday night or something like that.
All right. Well,
so
I'm gonna be there,
good.
man.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Well, good show. All of you out there, thank you so much. Hit that like button if you haven't already. We really appreciate it. It's so easy. It's just clicking a little button, and it helps other people find this show. And if you disagree with any of our picks, put it down in the comments. Tell us what you think the army actually should be and why. But at any rate, hit that like, subscribe if you haven't already. Meph, absolute pleasure as always, buddy. Can't wait to have you back on again. Tyler, thank you as always for all of you who are going to be at NashCon. I'll see you in a couple days. For the rest of you, as always, we'll see you next Wednesday.